and much wiser.
Welcome to the crib, Dexter. Glad to have you.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it, man. Really glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, we're more like a family. We're not a really formal, show. You got to go to Fox and ESPN for that. But right now, we're just a group of guys that just like to talk smack and
I love it. That's how it should be. That's how it should be, man. I love it.
Yeah, and we are PG-13. So if every once in a while I say shit or it's like hey. Anyway,
we do have a sports crib after. We have a sports crib after dark. That's the latest. we do that one later.
And we do have a problem with time. So if you're on a schedule, you might want to leave at any time.
Bill and I don't think it's a problem. Only the problem is Mr. King. We love talking sports, and you get 3-4 dudes that like talking sports as much as we do. Time is something Mr. King worries about. I have never.
You have no worries about time.
He's on the West Coast too. I don't even know what the big deal is. I'm in the Central Time Zone. He's on the West Coast. I don't know what the problem is.
Hey, well, anyway, guys, the show is on until it's over. I'll put it like that. So but I did find out, maybe if I ask a few less questions, But anyway, we'll get into that, a little. But anyway, guys, let's just for little shits and giggles, let's start off talking about baseball. We had one of the guys out here, one of the premier guys, Tatis. Tested positive for COVID. You have, I think, about 5 or 6 Yankees that are out tested for COVID. Boxing, basketball. All these other sports are getting it right. What's going on with baseball? And I'm going to give our guests a chance to. You can go first because after that, you might not get much of a chance with Bill and Demetrius here. So.
Oh man! Oh, Bill and Demetrius, he's just letting me know that you guys aren't hospitable. But I know you guys are. James, I think with baseball, right? Like it's crazy how we saw last year when they had the shortened season, just how COVID sort of just spread. We saw what happened with the Marlins last year, and you have to be concerned. Like there's no way you can't be concerned when you see a player of Tatis's stature. That's not good for the game, right? You got a young guy who's been killing it offensively. He has a great amount of showmanship to him as well too, and this guy goes out there.
Just signed that big contract.
Yeah, just signed a big contract, right? He just got the big contract, and then you watch what's happening here where I am in New York with the Yankees, and it was 8 players on their team have this. Gleyber Torres, the latest to just have it. I think what I see, and you brought up James, like why in other sports we aren't seeing it, and we're seeing it here. But I think the thing is, guys. It's a reminder that, look, we're still living in a pandemic, right? Like we can't just take it all easy. And we've seen some other places in other states ease up restrictions, and the Texas Rangers had the ballpark full on opening day, which is crazy.
The Canelo fight, 73,000.
73,000 up in there, right? And I had a friend of mine who was covering a UFC event, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me how Jacksonville, he was with media, but it was just strict testing for them to get in there. Baseball, I don't know what they're doing with the guys on the road exactly. And are guys still trying to sneak out or are they trying to do things? Look, it's tough on the athletes, but this should be a reminder for fans that, we're not in the clear here yet. Yeah. Everybody still hasn't been vaccinated, no matter how you feel about the vaccine. And we still got a little bit of a ways to go in the sports world. So these things are going to still pop up. I know we're going to talk NBA and stuff later, but these things are going to pop up in other sports, and it could affect, baseball's a longer season, but in something like basketball now, we're getting to the playoffs, or hockey. These things can affect the fabric of the playoffs, and it's definitely something for us to keep our eye on for sure.
Demetrius?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's a degree of this that is baseball is a microcosm of society, right? Baseball players are just a subset of society, and there's a group of people in our society that, for reasons that I don't understand, and this might sound judgmental, because quite frankly, it is judgmental. I don't know what the hell's wrong with those people. The shots are out there. Get the shots.
Right.
And there's a friend of mine said if the league just made it mandatory to come to games, you have to have a vaccination card to play, they do it. You shouldn't have to do that. You're right. That would work. You don't want to run a business that way. And they have a collectively bargained agreement with the Players Association. That's just not going to fly. No union's going to agree to that kind of deal where you're going to make players get shots. Because as a subset of society, there's a group of people who don't believe in it, who don't want to get shots, who I don't even understand it. I don't know what the reasons are because it doesn't make any sense to me. I've been double vaccinated for almost 2 months. As soon as I could, I lifted my sleeve up and said, please, I'll take them both. Thank you. But everyone's not me, and everyone doesn't think the way I think. So the baseball players are just a microcosm of society, quite frankly. And these guys are probably, I'm not saying it's all irresponsible behavior. I'm sure there's a degree of that. I wonder what the vaccination rate is. And I think it's just about what Dexter said. There are people who believe, okay, we're on the downside. We're no, we're not. No, we're not. I'm from Michigan. I get the numbers every day on my phone. We are not out of this. We're not at all out of it. So as long as people keep thinking that way, we're kind of out of it. We're on our way. And I don't need to behave responsibly. We're going to stay there. States like Florida and Texas doing what they do, going off Florida and Texas on us. We're still going to have a degree of this. So I think he's absolutely right.
Bill, something that I really wasn't aware of, I guess because we were just too stupid to say no, but I live down the road from Camp Pendleton, and they're saying that 40% of the Marines are not vaccinated. I have never heard of such a thing in the military before. Maybe it's some of the new rules or whatever, but I know, when they, as a matter of fact, before I got the orders to go to Vietnam, I got the goddamn shots.
Yep. So before I went to Panama, just up and down and up and down. Most of it wasn't so bad, but remember the old malaria shot? Remember that one? Oh,
man. Remember the guns?
Oh man! Oh,
if you flex your muscle, you bleed.
Every now and then, Dexter, they'll reminisce.
I'm with it. I'm here for the stories, man.
Right.
I'm with it.
Oh, the stories are great. Bill hasn't even started yet. Guy, genius.
So let me try to redirect this back to baseball if I can. So we're talking about cultures that stack up and interlock. So you've got a culture of the United States, which is there's a lot going on, right, just by itself. Then you add to that, now not all, but many of these players are from or their parents were from somewhere in Latin America. The Dominican, Venezuela, I think maybe Puerto Rico as well. But there's some additional sort of cultural distrust, biases, whatever you want to say about certain things when you stack that on top of it. And last but not least, there's the culture of baseball. So you've got this cultural Dagwood sandwich, 3-layer Dagwood sandwich, basically, right? I'm skewing old. I'm sorry. We're doing it again. But so when these things are stacked up, you have these guys who think of themselves as these, hey, I'm this healthy, whatever it is, 20, whatever year old person, that whole indestructible mindset, right? You've got that. You've got the fact there's a bunch of dudes who I'm sure are saying, I don't need it, or I don't want it, I don't trust it, right? You've got that. Then you add to that, like I said, just the fact that they really believe stuff doesn't happen to them. It'll happen to other people. Sucks for them, but it's not going to happen to me, right? Right? There are really people who believe it won't happen to them, right? Just my grandmother used to say, or great grandmother used to say, some people don't believe fat meat is greasy. There are just people who just don't believe it can happen to them until it happens to them. So I know you cannot issue a fiat and say, look, everybody roll up your left sleeve or whatever, or right if you're left-handed, and let's just take care of this today, right? I know that can't happen. That would be too much like right. But
it's good, but it's not.
But I certainly believe it behooves the MLB to, one, have an information campaign, right? And once again, I'm going to go back a few years, but back when we still didn't know everything we now know about HIV and AIDS, all the major sports, and baseball obviously is a little different from football or basketball because there's not that much close physical contact, but nonetheless, all the leagues had an information campaign. Yep. Some of us are old enough to remember them, right?
Yep.
They had people come out and talk to them, and they visited people and doctors and whatever else, right, to educate them about what to do and what not to do and all this stuff. And all the trainers had to get all the people who worked with all the team doctors, all the trainers had to get additional training about if a player ever does test positive and all stuff, right? And nobody said, I opt out, that I can remember, right? I think I would have heard if somebody said, like, nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember a single person saying, I won't partake of that. I can't remember a single player saying, I don't need to know it. It's not going to happen to me. Nobody says it's not going to happen to me for that, right? Even though they believed it probably wasn't going to happen to them, everybody listened. And even if they tuned it out, at least they sat in the room when it was happening. Yeah. So that's the first step. You can't always cure ignorance, but you got to try, right? Speaking of inoculations and shots, let's try. So that's the first thing, a massive information campaign. 2, I truly believe that if through contact tracing, it can be determined that the player has indeed acted irresponsibly. I mean, you find people for less. The last I checked, right. I mean, right. Every ballpark in America has a quote unquote kangaroo court where, heck, you can get. I mean, missing a high five can cost you $50. You know what I mean? Like, there's always little fines going on in every locker room. This has to be part of it. Look, let's say within the team, and once again, the union for whatever reason never complains about this stuff, right? When somebody gets docked for whatever, doing some little silly thing, bringing the wrong kind of beer, whatever, like you get docked when you're a rookie, you get docked for crazy stuff. Hey, if you got sick or got exposed, and it was something that was within your control, right? Right. I mean, you've got to make it feel like this is something that we should be doing, and if we're not, we should at least make every effort. I feel like they've been, I don't want to say slacking. That's maybe a little too strong a word, but they haven't put a full court press on this.
It just may not be ridiculous enough for MLB. I mean, if you can't put Vaseline on a baseball and you can't pose and watch your home run or you're getting plunked, start plunking dudes that don't get vaccinated.
Right. You can't necessarily expect them to do that the way if we kind of bring it back in this conversation, right? It's the culture of baseball sort of allows this to happen. And Bill, I think the points that you make are actually really good. And maybe even to take it a step further, look, if you're going to violate other people's health and safety, you got to get some sort of suspension. I'm actually willing to move past the fine, right? Like you might need to be suspended. If you can't be down with the team and do what's right for the team, you got to get out of here. Like I think this happens in other forms of life, right? Like this happens in other jobs, anything you might do. If you're not with the protocol that's best for the people, because this is what we're talking about here, what's best for the people, which to Demetrius's point, this is the problem larger in society and why we are here, because there are a lot of people who don't want to necessarily do what's best for the people. So until we get to a point where we're thinking all about, I care what happens to Bill and James and Demetrius, and we're doing what's best for the people, things are not going to get better. And I think it really goes back to Demetrius' point that this is a microcosm in baseball of society. And we're reflecting here, we're having the same situations. And also, because if baseball, going back to Bill and the teams, or if you want to look at whether it's the union rep or whatever, isn't going to say, yo, let's do the right thing here, then nothing is going to change. Exactly. Somebody has to say, look, we have to enforce this. We can't make everybody get vaccinated. That's cool. But if you're not going to do right by the people around you in this fight to win a World Series or whatever it is your team's trying to accomplish, you got to go. And this ain't no 3 strikes and you out, guys. 1 strike. You got to go.
I think from the beginning, there's been 2 kinds of people. The people who think that this virus is about them, their rights, whether or not they want to wear it, and the people who get it, who understand that this is about everybody else. I wear a mask to protect you. Right. Not me. Everything I'm doing is to protect you in case I have it and don't know. I wear a mask every day. And like I said, I've been double vaccinated for 2 months and I still wear a mask every day because it's never been about me. It's about some lady I'm going to pass in the grocery store who might have a condition I don't know about, and this could kill her. That's what it's about.
See, for me, that's totally asinine. I'm 74 years old. I wear a mask for me. I could give a damn less whether or not I'm safe. Okay,
there you go.
And I'm not gonna let you kill me. Okay,
welcome to the crib. There you go. That's your moderator, bro.
I love it. I love it.
That's the Bush code. Yeah,
but James, if people even thought what James was saying, right? Like even if James says, like, look, I'm just wearing this mask for me. Even if you had that kind of energy, guys, then we still be in a better situation.
Still wearing a mask. Right? You're still wearing a mask. Right.
Yeah, you're still wearing your mask. You're still doing good. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should talk some sports now. And Dexter,
baseball's not a sport.
It does sound. It does sound like you might also want to visit my political program on Monday, but I'll send you something about that.
Oh, we could do that. We could do that. I have a lot of things to talk about.
I think we've had Bill on once, I believe.
Yes, we did. I'll come back.
Okay.
Hey, man. So yeah, we're kind of diverse here.
I love it, man. I love it.
Okay, let's start with you there, Dexter. Worst case scenario. The Lakers losing the second round due to significant personnel injuries. Bill, I know you're already over there trending. What's your thoughts on that, Dexter?
If the Lakers lose in the second round, man. Well, here's the thing with the Lakers, right, guys? They got to get in. It looks like they're facing the play-in right now, right? Like we don't even know if they're going to get in that way. Now, guys, I think they will. I think they'll get into the playoffs. A lot is going to be determined the next couple of nights, whether they get in to the play-in or they got to get in actually with a berth and get the 6th seed. We'll see what Portland does or Dallas does. But the key for me with the Lakers when I'm looking at them is we know they can still defend. They're really good defensively, right? Yeah. But it's if LeBron is healthy and if AD is healthy. If those two guys are healthy, I trust them more than any team still in the league to get to the finals and win the finals. But it really comes down to health. And they've got some other injuries. We just saw Caruso go down, who's an important player for them off the bench. We're still waiting. Schroeder, we're still waiting for him to come back from health and safety protocols, COVID, again, right? These are the things that can impact the team, like I was saying off the top. So I'm not going to bet against the Lakers just yet. But, guys, I got to see them be healthy, right, like in the next couple of weeks. Because if they got to get through the play-in and they're not healthy, we might be talking in a week from now saying these guys are looking shaky. I don't know. Look, right now, because of COVID and the way the league has been this season, guys, who's like Demetrius might say he wants to take Brooklyn, and Bill might say he feels the Sixers, and none of you guys are wrong. Like nobody's wrong because there's so much up in the air. There's so much that can happen, and it really what we've seen this season, it really is going to come down to who's healthy. Now, if the Lakers are healthy, I love them over everybody else. But right now, we don't even know how LeBron's going to look like. He's supposed to come back, was it Friday? Friday's supposed to come back, I believe. Yeah. And AD looks like he's just starting to get to be himself, but then we see some nagging injuries. So, I don't know. I wouldn't bet against him right now, but it ain't looking great either, James. It ain't looking great.
Well, that's why I gave him the second round, because I'm saying that, right now they got these little nagging injuries, but by the second round, they could come very significant. Demetrius?
Yeah, I agree. I think that if they're healthy, like real healthy, it's going to be tough for somebody to beat them 4 out of 7 times. As much as I love Utah, and we've been talking 2 months, and I've been on the Utah bandwagon. Dexter, I will never pick Brooklyn. Don't ever say that again.
I'm sorry to put you on there. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn native, and I'm not a Brooklyn Nets fan.
Okay, thank you. We're good.
I'm not offended or anything.
Okay,
but definitely hear why you're not a Brooklyn believer too, because I am not either. I'm not either, but I want to know why.
So are we talking Bushwick, Fort Greene, New York, Crown Heights? What are we talking about?
Oh, I'm from Flatbush.
Oh, nice.
East Flatbush to be specific. East Flatbush to be specific.
Yeah. So if the Lakers are healthy, as much as I love Utah, and I still love Utah, even with Donovan's injury, I think Utah is a complete team. That would be a Western Conference final I would want to see. If the Lakers aren't healthy, it's crapshoot. Then I really love Utah, and I would even talk Clippers at that point. Portland still got Dame, so they can play. But we're talking specifically if LeBron's not healthy, James, I don't know. The second round, that's a whole different conversation. To Dexter's point, they got to play in, and it's going to be tough. It's not even a given. But I think that I'm not here for, oh, we're injured. You know what? That's a part of the game. In every game we're going to talk about tonight, every sport, I can remember my bad boy Pistons should have beat the Lakers if Zeke wasn't hopping around on a bad ankle. And you know what? The Laker fans will tell me if Magic doesn't pull his groin the next year, maybe they beat us. I don't care about any of that. It's a part of the game. Everybody's got to deal with it. And especially if you're the Lakers and you're signing Andre Drummond from buyouts and you're just loading up your roster. I'm not here for the Lakers when we're injured. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm a Piston fan. I'm not. We're battling for the number one pick in the draft. You think I want to hear about your injuries? No, thank you.
I hear you.
Well, Bill, what's the deal with the Lakers, man?
Well, I mean, the deal is, I guess obviously we don't worry too much about Jared Dudley, but so take all the time you need, Jared. But clearly for Dennis Schroeder, for LeBron James, Ross Caruso, and Anthony Davis, those are players that, and obviously LeBron being the main one and Anthony Davis being, 1A and 1B, if those players are not 100 or close to 100% by the time the playoffs begin, I don't want to assume that the second round is necessarily going to even be happening, right? You can't just pencil them in to the second round if they're missing. If those guys are either not able to go or greatly reduced capacity. When you remember when I first started telling you why I wasn't head over heels confident, I said what? I said depth, and I said perimeter shooting. But I said depth and perimeter shooting. The reason is that the Lakers still make me a little bit nervous. And they sort of address those things, but not really address those things. They're still an older team with borderline depth at certain positions. That hasn't changed. That has not changed. They're still one or two injuries to the wrong person away from being a very, very vulnerable basketball team. Do I believe that they'll probably make it at least to the second round? Sure. I think we all believe that's likely to happen, but it's not automatic. This is a team with legitimate issues at certain positions with older players who play a lot of minutes. Their best players are some of their oldest players, and that's not an ideal setup, actually. You'd like your best players to be about 24 to 27. Like, ideally, you want your best players to be, like, young and strong and vibrant. Now, you can't always arrange for your best players to be young. Sometimes your best players are old. You just roll with it, I guess. But unfortunately, basketball is a sport of usage injuries. We've talked about this. You get the occasional, Gordon Hayward or whatever, where a guy has this, dramatic, traumatic injury. But that's not normal. Basketball injuries are plantar fasciitis, tendonitis, this itis, that itis, arthritis. It's I run and I jump for a living. And when you run and you jump for a living, if you do it long enough, stuff starts to right? And this is not a team that's getting younger. They play extra basketball every year. We've talked about this in the past, that at some point, and load management and whatever, but load management doesn't make you younger, James. I wish it did. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually reverse aging. It just slows the inevitable, right?
Right.
You're breaking down more slowly than you would than if you played more minutes, but you're not actually going to be 25 years old. You're going to still be 30 whatever. So I'm not as sanguine. Like some people are like, no big deal, RELAX and all that stuff. No, it's not. Everything's not great. Everything's not fine. You're not automatically guaranteed to just through the playoffs because you've got guys who are going to the Hall of Fame. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to bring your resume and your mystique. I mean, you can, but it doesn't work. Like, hey, look at my resume and my mystique. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Put that down and lace up your sneakers and let's go.
Let's go.
I want to see your resume. Lace up your sneakers and let's go.
Bill, let's stay in this little playoff mood here. Who's the better team to advance? The Warriors or the Grizzlies?
Ugh. Okay. Well, sure. Gosh, do I prefer to jump on a landmine or do I prefer to be drowned?
Burning fire.
I mean,
There's always IEDs. Don't worry about it.
Neither of these teams are likely to advance, but I guess gun to my head, and that's kind of what this feels like. I would say this. Steph Curry is capable of just getting in a place where no one can do anything. Exactly. Where you might as well have just stayed in your locker room, right? You might as well have just said, I mean, the only cool thing is you get to tell your grandkids, I was there when he dropped 74 on us, right? But because of that, I give them a slightly better chance. They're not the better team. They aren't. They are not. But they've got Steph Curry, which means there's always this moment that could happen where Steph Curry suddenly just, something happens. I guess I'm about to get metaphysical on y'all, but there was a book I read many, many years ago when I was a kid called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And it deals with, of all things, a seagull. But the point is that he discovers what's called perfect speed. And it enables him at one point to literally fly through a rock. And a bunch of his fellow seagulls are like, what the hell did you just do? Are you dead? Did you die? Right. And so they're all kind of in awe of him, like, what did you just do? And sometimes Steph Curry can do that, where he achieves this perfect basketball state where there's nothing that can be done. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that your team is better. It doesn't matter that you've got more depth. It doesn't matter that you're better at every other position. He's just in this space where he can pull up, I don't know, from the parking lot, who knows where, right? And the ball just goes in, like it's guided by the hand of, Vishnu or whoever it is. I don't know who the god of basketball actually is. I'll have to look that up. But
Vishnu now. Right.
So I'm going to give them a slight edge because Steph Curry can do things that people shouldn't be able to do.
Fair.
You guys got on me for penciling in the Lakers to the second round. So now I throw you a question about, okay, Dexter, your shot at this.
No, I'm pretty much in agreement with Bill on this. And just so we're clear, right, we're talking about advancing out of the play-in or advancing actually if they get into the playoffs and then beating somebody in a 7-game series. Like what
doesn't matter.
No, Demetrius makes a good point. I'm not sure it actually.
I understand why you want the clarification.
But you're like, it doesn't matter. Fine. I can rock with that. So, in terms of advancing, let's just say, I agree with Bill that Memphis is probably the better team. The dudes that are around Steph Curry right now ain't really that good, okay? They're not really that good right now. Steph has been carrying his team. He's had lights out shooting. He looks incredible right now. He's got the hand of the basketball god, as Bill said, guiding his shots. He's killing it. And if we just talk about the playing guys, in a situation where he's got to win one game, I don't mind. I would like to have Steph Curry on my team because of the performances that he's put up. And if he's going to go up against a Memphis, let's say, the Lakers are a different animal. If he's going against a Memphis for a game to get into the playoffs, they ain't got nothing for Steph Curry. They have nothing, in no way they could stop him. Now, the guys on Memphis, they got a little taste of that playing game last year in the bubble, but they don't have playoff experience. Where you also have to like Golden State is there are some guys on the roster that have tasted the playoffs. Draymond, obviously. Yep. Kelly Oubre Jr. had a little taste with the Wizards. Andrew Wiggins hasn't ever tasted he did once actually taste the playoffs. Yeah. Sorry. He did taste the playoffs once. So there's some guys that have played it. Have they played meaningful big games the way Steph and Draymond has? No, but I think that stuff matters. That leadership will matter to get some of those guys hopefully ready for that game. And like Bill said, you got to just look, Steph Curry. Memphis ain't got nobody that can do what Steph Curry does. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. I like John Morant. I like those players. I think they have something nice that they're building. But look, if the hand of the basketball god, which is probably Steph Curry, comes down, they ain't got nothing for that, guys. We all know that. They ain't got nothing. So I'm rolling with the Warriors on this one.
Demetrius?
Yeah, this is easy. The guys make it easy. Sometimes, another thing, Dexter, sometimes there's a couple of rules on SportsKRIB, right? Mm-hmm. One is it sucks to follow Bill sometimes. It just does. Because he said everything you want to say, and then you're sitting here and you follow Bill and cover the two things I thought Bill missed. So then I'm sitting here like, okay.
Sorry, man.
No. I'm glad you're here. It's great. It's what makes the Sports Crib the Sports Crib. I got one thing, though, is that I found it interesting that both teams average about 113 a night, and both teams give up about 113 a night. Which is great. But at the end of the day, they both made the point, which is Golden State has that dude. And if you know what that dude means, it is the dude who can just single-handedly win you a game, potentially a series. He's that dude. Whatever that god that Bill made up, because I don't think that's real, Vinci or Rushu or whatever that was. Steph is definitely touched by that god, and on a given night, he can beat anybody. And I love Ja. Ja's not that dude yet.
No,
he's not that dude yet. And Golden State has that dude. And when you got that dude, you got a shot.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, Demetrius, I'm going to let you lead this one off.
Yes.
And you're a Utah Jazz guy.
Yes.
So, you know what I'm getting ready to ask. How meaningful is Donovan's injury?
So I could be, smarty pants and say, can't be too much. They're 8-5 since he's been hurt, and they still got the best record. Right? But that's not necessarily true. I just don't believe it's as significant an injury as those others. So my feeling is, against any team other than a healthy Laker team, I still like them in the West. If they get a healthy Laker team, it's a good series. But my feeling is they have balance. They've got two guys in the six-man conference. If you ask me, in the six-man conversation, I love to spoil the Sports Crib and talk about stuff I'm not supposed to. I love it, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it, James. I'm sorry. I like him. I think he's you take away the best scorer, and they still have really good players on that team from a depth standpoint. That's why Utah's got the best record in the league. As much as I like Donovan Mitchell, I can tell you there's 5 players off the top of my head that I would say are better than him. Giannis, Embiid, Bron. We could do that, but they've got depth. They've got 7 dudes, right, that contribute. So as a team, I like what they do. But a healthy Laker team can defend, as Dexter mentioned earlier. They can really defend, and I just don't think that's a great matchup for them 4 out of 7. Anybody else? And all that being said, I don't think LeBron's going to be healthy or the Lakers will be healthy. I still have Utah going to the finals because I think that they have the best team. I've said that since we started talking about the NBA playoffs. I think Utah is the best team. The Lakers have potentially the 2 best players, 2 of the best 5 players for sure. I think Utah's the best team, and I don't think Mitchell's injury is that bad. I think he'll be ready. He'll be ready for the playoffs. And like I said, they're 8-5 without him, so it didn't cripple them. We can't call him MVP, obviously, because they didn't do that much. I still like Utah as a team.
Dexter?
I'm with Demetrius on this, and I want to build off of that point about them being 8-5 without Donovan Mitchell, right? I think where I don't want to say it doesn't hurt them. Obviously, you want Donovan Mitchell on the floor. You want Spider there. He brings a lot of scoring. He's averaging career highs in scoring, assists over 5 per game. He's getting about 4, a little bit over 4 boards a game. I know he's grabbing this year. He's not their most important player, though. He's their. You can argue that he's, and you might even maybe say Conley on this. He might even be their most important guard. Right. But their most important player is Rudy Gobert. If Gobert was out, I'd be more concerned about Utah because he does so much for them on the defensive end, which translates a lot to what they're able to do on the offensive end. Even if you look at the advanced numbers for Gobert, and I'm not a super analytical guy. I like to look at the analytics and use my eyes. I'm sure the rest of you guys are too, see what we see in the game. But this guy has such an impact on defense. I think a lot of people sometimes discredit he's not a guy you can give the ball. He can't do something with the ball in his hands. I think they're fine as long as Gobert is healthy. Now, obviously, getting Mitchell back and in the flow, and I think the Jazz have played this the right way, guys, in terms of letting Mitchell rest down the stretch. I think he's not coming back till the playoffs. Exactly. It's the best thing for him. They'll have 6 days off, possibly 7, depending on what day they'll start, to be able to rest him further, ramp back up his conditioning. It's good for Mitchell right now to have him ready for the stretch, but I don't think it hurts them as much right now. Now, to what Demetrius said, if they have to ever play the Lakers, and this possibly could happen in the first round, we don't know, which is not what Utah wants. Exactly. That's if the Lakers are healthy. If they're healthy, we got to add that caveat. That's what would scare me, guys.
Yep.
If the Lakers are healthy, I think it's a bad matchup. I agree with Demetrius completely 100%. That's the matchup they don't want. I like them better against a team like the Clippers. I think they match up pretty well with the Suns, even though they lost to them the other night. But I think they match up well. Demetrius makes great points about their depth, which is their strength. They have 2 good six-man candidates, which I know we'll talk about, off the bench, which is also great. There's a lot of things you don't have to worry about with them, that they can even sustain a stretch in the regular season when their maybe best perimeter scorer isn't out. Now, in the playoffs, they're going to need to be healthy to showcase all that depth, so they're absolutely going to need Donovan Mitchell back. But right now, I don't think it's as big as a blow as if it was, Rudy Gobert. I think if Rudy Gobert goes out, I'm positive. I watch you guys in the show. Demetrius is not going to be as confident in the Jazz anymore. I know he won't. I know he won't, because I see him nodding, and he understands the value that Gobert brings. And I think he's the game changer for the Jazz more than Mitchell. I think a lot of times we just look at the offense, but he does so much, Gobert that is, defensively for them, that you just can't ignore it.
Nope, absolutely.
Bill, I'm going to give you the final thought.
Sorry, Bill. Now you have to follow me, and that might be tough to follow me and Demetrius.
Here we go. So let's see if I can manage to run that anchor leg. So as was mentioned, Donovan Mitchell is having indeed a career year, but very quietly, or somewhat quietly, so is Jordan Clarkson. I mean, he's having a terrific year. 18.2, right? Not a great percentage shooter, but he's got everything else you look for, right? He's good from the free throw line. For his size, he's a pretty good rebounder. He's not an amazing passer, but he knows how to make the right pass. He's a decent defender. We've talked about Bogdanovich is a guy that is quietly also having, I think he might also be having the best season of his career as well, at least one of the best. Conley is doing Mike Conley things. Gobert is quietly one of the most valuable players. And then, I guess, not even a secret weapon, just a weapon is Joe Ingles.
Joe Ingles.
Such a versatile, he's not even a glue guy anymore. He's beyond that. He's like cement, right? He's gone a step above glue. And then, once again, a guy who is a glue guy, but like super glue is Royce O'Neal, who I don't think people talk about enough. This team is probably the best team in basketball, right? In terms of, if you had to break your team into 2 different teams and, sort of randomized it so that half of the best players were on one team, and just send them out to play, they would probably be able to put up the best total record if all of the guys on the roster, got split in half and had to go play against the NBA, right? Yeah. I think they would probably be the team that could probably be the best at.
Oh, wow.
We lost him.
Yeah.
I'll finish up for him. Joe Ingles is shooting 48% from 3 on a team that really utilizes a 3-point shot. That cannot be understated. Dexter's point about Rudy Gobert creates offense on defense. Not a lot of guys do that ever in the history of this league, but guys who genuinely create offensive opportunities and thereby points through defense, that's what Rudy Gobert does. And you probably can't name another 2 or 3 guys in the league that do it. None of them as well as he does. Rudy Gobert is understated. There he is. We got him back now. I finished up for you.
In conclusion.
See, this is why we never get out on time.
This is why we're going to. But to wrap it up, they are the opposite of teams like Brooklyn, right? Where the ball gets stuck on one guy all the time, and they move the ball, they play hard, they play smart. They're going to be dangerous against literally anybody. There's nobody who feels comfortable playing against the Jazz. And obviously without Donovan Mitchell, it takes some of the pressure off you, but not, as Demetrius pointed out, not that much, right? 8 out of 13, they've managed to put in the W column. But I would be worried about them in a playoff series against a good team. Not just the Lakers. I think there's a couple other teams that would at least, give them trouble.
You mean without Mitchell, you mean?
Yeah, right, without Mitchell. Right, with Mitchell, they're trouble for anybody, obviously. I don't know. The Lakers are the only team I could see being a threat to them if Mitchell is healthy. with Mitchell not being healthy, could they get knocked out by Portland if Dame goes nuts in 3 games? I mean, like things can happen at that point. They're more vulnerable, even though they have incredible depth. Like I love the way the team is constructed. This is what I keep trying to tell Milwaukee they should be doing around Giannis, right? If you could do this around Giannis, you got rings. But it's hard to do that. Hard to put a team together like that.
Easy.
It is.
All I want to know is, can I take a team with 2 white boys to Rucker Park? But anyway,
No.
But anyway, Bill, since you always like to combine questions, I guess we might as well give you the George Clark's question too. Is he going to be 6th man of the year? And I'll make Demetrius go behind you. So take all the time you want.
I think he certainly deserves extremely serious consideration. The 6th man of the year, and I can remember when sort of this first began. Was Bobby Jones the original 6th man of the year? I believe.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah.
I think about it.
Yeah. I saw the ceremony. So yeah.
Right. So I've seen. Right. So I've seen the creation, right, of this recognition of this position. And it's changed a bit over time. It used to be that your 6th man was kind of a specialist, right? It might be a scorer, right? A guy like Vinnie Johnson, a guy who just comes out and puts up shots. Or it might be a lockdown defender. Now
Freddie Brown. Downtown Freddie Brown.
Right. Right. Or guys that just come out and defend. Or somebody's rebounders, right? Some guys would just come out and rebound. What we've gotten to is now your 6th man is very often in some teams. I mean, he might be the quote unquote 6th man. Sometimes the 3rd place player on the team, right? Exactly. I mean, in many cases, he's the 3rd best player on the team. But he's essentially the leader of your 2nd unit. It's almost like in hockey, right? Where you have a shift change, and this guy's the captain of the second shift. That's sort of what your 6th man now is. He's the captain, the boss of your other unit, your other team that comes in at the 11-minute mark or whatever it is when you want to take out your starters. And yes, he's deserving. Will he win? I always worry about guys who aren't in front of the right people's eyes all the time, if you know what I mean. I mean, basketball's a little better than some other sports with this, but not always. But better than, like, used to be a guy, if you were in Seattle in the old days in the NFL, it didn't matter what you did. You could be the best player in football, but nobody knew, right? Back in the old days. Now it's a little different. But I remember, guys would be just killing it. They had a defensive back named Dave Brown, who, if I told you where he was in career interceptions, you think I was lying. And he hasn't sniffed being a Hall of Fame finalist because he played in Seattle, his whole career in Seattle. And he's one of the greatest defensive backs in the history of football, and most people never even heard of him. They had a tremendous defense. Joe Nash was one of the best nose tackles in football. Nobody cared. They had a guy who ended up with 114 career sacks on that same defense named Jacob Green. Nobody's even heard of him because he played in Seattle. He only got credit for 98.5 of those because the sack didn't become a statistic until his 3rd year in the league. So if he did things in Seattle, nobody ever heard about it. Did it really happen? It's a little better in basketball. I think he has I'd say a 55% chance of winning.
Yeah. Bill makes statistics on you too, Dexter. So
yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead, Demetrius.
And this is sort of me being me, I don't think he's the best 6th man candidate on his own team. So because Bill made a good point, and I think it is that Jordan Clark's the starter on, help me, Dexter, 20 teams in the league, 25 teams in the league. Jordan Clarkson's a starter who comes off the bench. That's what that is. Joe Ingles is a true 6th man. He is a specialist. He comes in, he does what he does. That team works a lot off of 3-point shots. And Joe Ingles is shooting 48%, like I mentioned earlier. That to me is what feels like 6th man. Now, I don't know if that's going to work. I think Montrezl Harrell has something to say about this. At this point, he's 14-6 probably. But then he's with the Lakers. So I'm going to go to the guy who produces 6 men of the year. This is what Glenn Anton Rivers does for a living, is produce 6 men of the year. I think he's got like 5 of them in the last decade. Yep. And I think Shake Milton's a decent player who's doing really cool things in Philly. probably 13, 14 a game, maybe a few assists. I like what he brings to that team on a team that has some really good players. That like Joe Ingles, Shake Milton seem like 6 man of the year players to me. Now, Jordan Clarkson will probably get it, especially when Donovan's dropping stuff on IG or Twitter or whatever that was. He'll probably get it. I don't view that as what the 6 man. See, like you mentioned Vinny Johnson. And anytime you make a reference, Dexter, for future purposes, to the Bad Boy Pistons, you're good. You're good.
Okay. All right.
Just slipping one in there somehow.
All right.
Good.
So I throw a microwave reference in. I'm good.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So will he win it? I actually think probably Bills 55 is solid. Should he? I don't. But I'm old school NBA. I'm a Bad Boy Piston dude.
So to that, I think both you guys make great points, right? Like, and it's interesting because I wonder how we are shifting our view in voting for 6 man. How, like Bill talked about how it's evolved, and you talked about how what you want, Demetrius. And what's interesting is like 8 out of the last 9 6 man award winners, right? So I got some stats. We're always one of the top bench scorers in the league, like had to be a top 3 bench scorer in the league. I think the only exception was 2016 when Jamal Crawford was 9th in the league in terms of bench scoring, right? Yeah. So not traditionally, but recently, we have given this to the highest scoring guy off the bench. Now, do I think that's always fair about who's the best 6 man? That's why I agree with you, Demetrius. No. And maybe we need to stop thinking about that in terms of the voting. Yes, Clarkson is great off the bench. He's got career highs in terms of points, rebounds, assists. He's not a great shooter, but he's been shooting it decently well. I think he's got career highs in 3-pointers made at 3 a game, and attempts. So his effective shooting percentage is pretty good. He shoots 92% from the line. But you brought up Ingles, who I think deserves a lot of serious consideration. Why? Career best in 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage. So if we look at those 2 guys, who I actually think are the top 2 candidates, if we look at them, what it comes down to is, do you like his offensive output in the terms of Jordan Clarkson, or do you like the efficiency when he comes off the bench in terms of Ingles? Ingles has been incredibly efficient. You also can argue, if you look at him not even just this year and in previous years, when you need him to start, he can start. You need him to come off the bench, he come off the bench. You need him to run some point forward, he can do that. He's your jack of all trades guy that's incredibly efficient off the bench. So I think it's a toss-up, and why Bill, you said 55%, right, brother? That's what you said, 55%? Yeah. I think that number isn't really bad because recently voters have been, and probably lazily so, guys, voting for the guy that scores the most points. Exactly. So I think that'll benefit Jordan Clarkson. But it doesn't mean that Demetrius is wrong here at all, because I think when you're looking at the totality and what somebody brings to that 6 man position, and Shake Milton also too deserves a lot of consideration. Montrezl Harrell, people just kind of forgetting because he's not with the Clippers anymore. Maybe he hasn't had the same impact with Lou Will. Exactly. But I think those guys, I think we need to look at impact off the bench and how that deserves it. So if I had a vote right now, I would actually vote Ingles because I tend to lean towards impact/efficiency. Maybe it's time for us to stop just saying, hey, this guy had the most points off the bench, so let's give him 6 man of the year. And that's no disrespect to Jordan Clarkson, who's had a terrific year. That's no disrespect to him, no shade to him at all. But let's just look more comprehensively at the award. However, just because of the way the voters have voted, guys, I'm going to say if I had to put money on it, gun to my head, it's probably going to go to Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, I think your point about, especially for bench players who don't get predominant minutes, efficiency is critical. You made my point better than I did. For a bench player, efficiency is awesome, and Ingles fits it to me. Great point.
Yeah.
Dexter, I'm going to start this one with you.
Okay.
Durant, Harden, and World Be Flat. Do not make
your point.
Do not make the Eastern playoffs. Truth or dare?
The Eastern Finals.
You mean the finals?
The Eastern Finals.
Okay. Eastern Finals.
Okay.
Ooh, people in Brooklyn gonna kill me.
It set you up. It set me
up. I'm gonna say, guys. You said is truth or dare or fact or fiction? I'm going no truth here, man. I don't think the Nets are gonna make the East Finals. I'm I know I'm in the minority on this.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm not.
Not on this show.
Not on this show.
Okay. I am among friends and people here, so that's great. The Brooklyn Nets fans are not going to like me saying this, and I used to cover that team for a little bit. And here's my concern, guys. I'm very intrigued to hear what the rest of you guys, what your concerns are. My concern is I just don't think they can stop anybody. Okay?
Exactly.
Like there's a lot of people who have said, and I've had some people on my podcast talk about this, James, as well too. Well, you got 3 of the best scorers in the league. Undoubtedly true. No doubt. No doubt about that at all, right? You 3 of the best scorers in the league. And people were the gun in the season and saying, well, these guys the offense is great. It's going to be like the Warriors. Let's pump the brakes on that for a second. What did the Warriors do that was so great that allowed them to win championships? They were a top 5 defensive team every year. We have never seen anybody with defense it's come up a little bit, but it's not really even mediocre at this point now, like the Nets are, win a championship. I don't like to be the guy that says, oh, well, this is only one way you can win a championship, right? Because we remember when people used to say a jump shooting team couldn't win a championship. And then we saw the Warriors. I do believe in defense, though, guys. I always will believe in defense, right? Like, you gotta get stops. It's not just enough you can score. If you guys watch a lot of Nets games, like I'm sure I have too, they can't stop anybody. The Wizards can put up points on them. We've seen bad teams put up points on them. That's my point number 1. Point number 2, guys, where I have a concern, why I don't think they can make the East Finals. We know from playing sports or watching sports, continuity matters. Guys playing together matter. B Flat, I like that nickname from James. That is a dope nickname. I like that 100%. World B Flat, KD.
Bill.
Yeah, that's
okay,
Bill.
from
That's Bill.
Good job, Bill. I'm giving you love on that, brother. I like that. World B Flat, KD, James Harden. They've played 7 total games together. Harden just came back. Kyrie is out now. These guys haven't played that much. Do any of you trust Mike D'Antoni or Steve Nash to scheme a defense against a team that might be able to attack them properly? Bill, you see, you're leaning back like you've heard this before, like you've said this before.
You said Mike D'Antoni and scheme a defense? Did you say those 2 things? I'm just making sure. I'm making sure. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, man. You know what? My bad. I should have said Mike D'Antoni because there's no D in that man's name at all, right? There's no D in that man's name at all.
Well done. Well done.
I don't trust that, and that's no shade totally to Steve Nash. This is his first time doing this. This is his first time dancing on the big stage and doing it here. I think Steve Nash will be a fine coach. Yep. I think the Nets just need to do more work on defense, and it's why I don't think they'll get it done this year. Yeah. I could see them doing it a year from now. I just don't think they're ready and have enough defensively, and they're all in on the offense, and defense matters, and I think we're going to see that in the playoffs. Now, if you get a good defensive team in the East, could be Philly. Philly can punk them inside with Joel Embiid. We know this. How are they stopping Joel Embiid? You going to put Durant on Embiid, guys? You going to put Blake Griffin on Embiid? You know something about Blake Griffin, Demetrius?
Yes,
you know about that?
I know, yeah.
You know a lot about that. I don't think that's a good matchup. Let's not forget Miami. Miami ain't scared of nobody, and they play D. And dare I not say,
we see the hat. We see the hat. Say it. We see the hat. Say it.
Look, that's my squad. That's my team. Lifelong, long-suffering Knicks fan. Okay, the Knicks play D, and I'm not saying the Knicks will beat the Nets. I'm just saying they can make life hell for them. The games the Knicks played against us have been very close this year, and the Knicks weren't able to execute because they're not as good offensively down the stretch. But against the elite defensive teams, guys, I don't trust the Nets to make these finals. So I'm out. I know it sounds like I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm out. So I'm gonna let Bill and Demetrius say what they've probably been saying because I'm just out of it.
I love it. Love it.
Don hasn't been around.
I'm gonna be real quick. Unlike normal, I'm gonna be real quick. You can just press play on that recording, James. You have every time been asked about any team that's been led by you know who, right? Going back many years, and I don't dislike James Harden as a player or as a person, but I have said, I don't know, when did you first bring me on the show, James? Because if you play that same recording, when you ask me about can team, whatever he was on team at that point, do I trust what I say every time I've been asked?
I think at that particular time he was on OKC, so I think we know how far back that was.
No, I was going back.
And what did I say when you asked me if I trusted them in the playoffs?
Same thing you say now, so it's no different.
Correct. I will now see the rest of my time from either the gentleman from Michigan or the gentleman from Texas.
Yeah, I see my time to the gentleman from Texas. Welcome, Don. We're glad you made it. I don't have a problem passing on an opportunity to talk about World B. Flat. I'll just let you have the time. I don't need to talk about him.
Don, what do you think about the Nets making it to the finals, the Eastern Finals? Is that truth or dare?
I dare them to go to the finals.
Like I said, Dexter, you're among friends.
Among friends, I see that. I see.
Hey, James Harden didn't play defense in Houston. He's not going to play it in Brooklyn. I mean, that's a given. The only one who's of the stars who probably has shown flashes of playing defense would be Durant. But, I mean, he's not known for great defense. So
see how hard that was for Don? It's like, he really didn't want to say it. He's like, we get it.
KD is a Texas alumni.
Right, he's a Texas guy. He didn't even want to say it, though. His mouth was like, no, Don, don't say it.
But, yeah, I mean, you have all the offensive power, out there. I mean, you could have, like, Imperial Death Star firepower, and if you're not going to defend it, I mean, you're going to lose. So, if they make the finals, it'll be because they're playing a team that plays worse defense than they do. I mean, but I just think that, I mean, it's a crap. It's a crapshoot. Roll the dice if they make
the finals. Julius Randle, Giannis, or Embiid got hurt, or all three of them got hurt. That's what I'm going to say. All two of those three dudes got serious injuries because I don't think they can handle any of them.
I'm definitely with you there.
The perfect storm has to occur before they get well.
Exactly.
Let's see, Don. Hawks or the Heat in a 7-game series? Truth or dare? Who you got?
Good question, James.
Hawks versus the Heat. I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to lean a little towards the Hawks on this one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're wrong, but yeah.
Okay. Hey, I guess since you didn't get a chance to speak on the other one, Demetrius, I'm going to give it to you.
Sure. I like Atlanta. I'm going to go down. I think we talked earlier about that dude, right? When you got that dude, right? So Atlanta's got one of those dudes. But they have 7 or 8 dudes that average between 10 and 18 points a game. They quietly have a bunch of glue guys who contribute, and they've got that dude. And that, like, John Collins is a good player. But Lou Williams, Gallinari, Clint Capella's 15 and 14. Yeah. Clint Capella still does what Clint Capella does. And then they've got the guy who can put up 25 and 9 every single night. And on a given night, he can put up 40. He can probably do 50. So when you have, and I'm not comparing Trae Young to Steph Curry, but Trae Young's capable of winning you a game single-handedly, maybe winning you 2 or 3, which gives you a shot to win a series. And I don't know. I'm a big Jimmy Butler guy. I love me some Jimmy Butler. I got to be honest. And I just like Miami as an organization. I feel like that organization, they know what they're doing, running basketball operations. But I think it's a great question, first of all, James, because that's a good 7-game series. I would watch it. I'd watch all 7 of those. But on the strength of that dude rule, I'm gonna take Atlanta because Trae Young is really good at the game of basketball.
Dexter.
So I am differing with Demetrius on this.
I knew it was going to happen sooner or later.
Sooner or later. Still like you, man. Still like you. I'm not taking Atlanta, although I think Demetrius makes good points, right? He talked about they have 6 or 7 guys. They average anywhere between 10 and whatever Trae Young is scoring. Right. It's 18. So they got guys that can put the ball in the basket for sure. like Brooklyn, they are not good defensively, and that's my concern. And a team like Miami will rough them up, and I like Miami's experience. That doesn't mean, and this is where I agree with Demetrius, it doesn't mean I don't think it will be a good series, because I think Miami's had some issues this year getting things going offensively. It's been a down year for Hero, not as good a year for Duncan Robinson, those kinds of things. But I think they're playoff mettle, the organization, which you like, Demetrius, and just I trust them to lock down when it counts. And a gamer like Butler and Adebayo, I'm going to go with the Heat in that series over it. But I think it will be a highly entertaining series. And because you have a guy that can light it up like a Trae Young, he can win you a game or two, and you never know how that can flip. So it's not a solid, confident pick, but I would go with the Heat on this one.
Bill, are you going to make it a tie, or are you going to go with
It's on you, Bill. It's on you.
It's
no
tough.
pressure, bro. No pressure.
I am very torn here, but I'm going to say this: that the distinguished Mr. Deck Henry made two great points, and those points were named Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. If Trae Young had his version of Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, not only would Atlanta win this, but they would win a few more series. Like, they are just a player or two away from being a real threat. They are really they're not quite the East version of the Jazz yet, right, but they're not far off. They just need another piece or two. Whether it comes to their draft or free agency, they're not far off. And if they had their Bam Adebayo, or if they're even a poor man's version of Jimmy Butler, I'm trying to think who that would be. Who's the poor man's version of Jimmy Butler?
There is no other version of Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy Butler. Yeah, there's one Jimmy Butler.
Right. But they need that guy. They do. And they need a guy who's an actual rim protector. They don't have anybody resembling that. Right. And they need that guy, that toughness guy, that we're not going to lose this game guy, that get in your face, yell, and spit on you a little bit guy. They don't have that guy either. And if they had those two guys, not only would they win, like I said, they would win this series and probably at least another series, and maybe more. But yeah, I'm going to go with Miami, though. Once again, I'm hedging my bet a little bit just because I think Atlanta's the better team. But I truly believe that in the playoffs, there's certain things that click. Muscle memory, whatever you want to call it. Teams that are used to being good, used to being competitive, used to winning even games they shouldn't win, will find a way to win some games they shouldn't.
Yeah. Now, it hasn't really been established yet. So once again, I'm going to put this scenario up there, just like I put up the scenario of the Lakers winning the first round. So, Bill, on a play-in, the Wizards or the Celtics? Who you got?
I'm going to say Celtics. Once again, I don't feel great about it. But I think
remember Jason's gone now, right? He's out for surgery, right?
That's why I'm kind of queasy when I say it. I'm putting a little more trust than I probably should in all that stuff they say about culture and competitiveness. But I do like the way that they compete. I'm not wild about the construction of the team without Jason Tatum. That's not a great. When you just look at the roster without him, you're not like, wow, like it's not like you're not like, woo, who could hope to.
Well, Jason Tatum's good, right? Jaylen Brown is the one. Jason Tatum's fine. Jaylen Brown's got a torn ligament.
Brown. Okay, it's Brown. Okay. I mean, that's
might change a little bit, right?
I still don't feel amazingly great about it, but yeah, okay. That's
cuts down on the depth. Right. I'll stick with my pick, but I don't feel amazing. I don't feel that great about it. This would be a tough series, and I think it would go to the distance, but I think that they'll find a way to gut out, a tough series. Don, who you got? Celtics or the Wizards?
Oh, I concur with Bill. I think it'd be kind of. I mean, it'd be a fun series to watch. Just two mediocre teams slugging it out. But,
I hope they say that right in the commercials, Don.
Right. Welcome to the game. Two mediocre teams slugging.
I'll give a slight edge to the Celtics. I think they have a little bit better bench depth, probably.
But Demetrius, we got Mr. Westbrook, man. He's putting up more.
Yeah, you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. Like, first of all, I don't.
He got more daily doubles than my man with the winning horse at Kentucky Derby.
I don't think this is as simple as the guys make it sound. First of all, Boston's 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 4 straight. They're not playing good basketball right now. And I have proposed, this will be my 3rd time talking about that dude theory. What if I tell you got 2 of them dudes, right? Because Brad can do Brad Beal stuff, and we all know what Russell is. Now, there are people who say, Russ's stats don't translate to wins, and I say that's crap. When he's on a winning team, he gets the MVP for doing what he does, and when he's on a bad team, they say his stats don't matter. No. Russell Westbrook helps you win games. And I without Jaylen Brown, is Boston the better team? I honestly don't know. When I look at the sample size and say they're 3-7 in their last 10, they lost 4 straight. Something's not right now. And I know that I don't love anybody else on the Washington roster. I like Lopez. I've always liked both the Lopez guys, but there's nobody else I love on that roster. But I love Russ and Brad quite a bit. So I don't. I mean, I think you're saying one game, right? Because you're talking about one game.
Yeah.
If we're talking about one game, give me Russ and Brad. I'm sorry. I'm taking Russ and Brad and the Wizards. Now, the 7-game series, I don't know. Depending on where, who's got home court and that kind of stuff. But on one night, without Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook can beat the Boston Celtics. Absolutely.
Dexter.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm with Demetrius on this.
Yes.
The Celtics have looked shaky. And what you're asking is, as much as I like Jason Tatum, I like his game and how he's improved as a scorer, they're obviously not as good without Jaylen Brown. And what you're then asking yourself to do as a team is you're relying on Kemba Walker, whose knees has been shaky. And I love Kemba. That's my man. I covered him when he was in high school and everything. But right now, the knees are shaky. And Demetrius really simplified it. It's really no simpler than that. You got 2 of these dudes that can take over in a one-game situation. Russell Westbrook does great things, and I'm with you, Demetrius. People need to put more respect on his name in terms of that. And Bradley Beal, if he comes back healthy, he's been resting out the last couple of games with the ankle. If he comes back healthy with that, they can be fine. I don't trust the Celtics at all right now. I would not be shocked, guys, if the Celtics don't make it out of the play-in. And they're not in playoffs at all. It would not shock me one bit. And the Wizards and maybe the Hornets are up in there as your 7 and 8 seeds. I could see that. And then if the Wizards get in, because of what Demetrius said, because of them having those guys, I'm not saying they could win a series, guys, but, they could put a little fear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're going to have the hand of God, like Bill said, but they're going to, they might have the finger. They might touch some things and make something feel a little different. So, yeah, if it's one game, James, what we're talking about for the play-in, I definitely would go with the Wizards over the Celtics because they're looking too shaky right now.
Yeah.
Well, this is our last basketball question, so you can stick around and talk some NBA. Some NFL with us if you want, but I don't know how much time you have. I
do have to take off after this last basketball question, but we're gonna have to come back and do it again for sure.
Hey, whenever you get ready, man, I'll send you the link. You show up. And you're on the SPORTSKRIB.
I'll tell you that. I will say one thing before you get to the last question, James. I will say this. I have a feeling you guys might need me to come back if the Nets don't make it to the East Finals. Yo, just holler at your boy, James. Just hit me up. Hit me up.
Okay. Giannis or Embiid? Who has the best team around him?
Man, that's a good one. And when I saw this question, I was like, this is a really good one. Now, I'm going to say Giannis because I think they figured some things out in Milwaukee. Now, how that translates in the playoffs, I don't know, but I'm going to specifically refer to something that I think you guys might enjoy. Their last 2 games they played in that series against Brooklyn, I like some things I saw with the team with them. They've got, I think, some more role players I trust. And my issue with Philly, which I'm sure might be some of your guys' issue with Philly, is Ben Simmons does not shoot. Yep. And that bothers me with Philly. I want to like him more. I think Ben Simmons is a fantastic defensive player, great rebounder, good playmaker. irks me that he doesn't shoot. And I think what happens then, what concerns me in the playoffs with Philly is you're going to have to rely too much on Ben Simmons. And then, all right, I like Tobias Harris. He's a nice piece. He's a good third option, right? I think we all can agree on that. You got Seth Curry after that, but they don't really have as good offensive pieces as I think the Bucks do. I like Holiday. Middleton's pretty solid. You've got Dante DiVincenzo, who's been really good. I think Milwaukee's fixed the problem they had with Eric Bledsoe last year, who you left him open for a shot. If the ball swung and it went to Eric Bledsoe for three, that was like a great defensive possession if you're playing the Bucks. Now they don't have to worry about that. I think the pieces are better in Milwaukee around Giannis than they are in Embiid. However, I'm going to put a caveat here with all this. I trust Embiid more in a playoff series to get it done than I necessarily do Giannis. And that's, I think, is because Embiid has more options as a three-level scorer. And Demetrius, I see your face, and I saw your face too, Bill. So what happened to Dexter? What here?
He was so good.
Until that point, Demetrius got really disappointed in me. Giannis has to show me more in playoffs in terms of his ability to shoot from the outside because how I think defenses are going to load up against him. But I think he will figure it out. Maybe it's this playoffs. To go back 1 point, if you look at what Budenholzer did with the Bucks against Brooklyn, he used Giannis a lot in the mid-post area where Giannis clearly can be successful, guys. You give him the ball in that area and let him work, a team like Brooklyn ain't got no answer for him there. And he could cause problems for a lot of teams in the East. So I'm really wondering if they're going to say to Giannis, hey, chill out. You don't have to shoot 7-8 threes a game. Do more of your work from the mid area in, and let's work with the shooters that we have around you. If that happens, that's why I trust the Bucks to be better, if you understand what I'm saying. In terms of individual, in terms of individual performance, I just wanted to be clear. In terms of individual performance, guys, just because I've seen Embiid do more in the playoffs in terms of stepping up, although, I trust him a little bit more than I would necessarily Giannis. But I think the system around Giannis is better suited for him than it would be for Embiid. Does that make sense in terms of that? So to answer James's question, I like the supporting pieces around Giannis more than I do the supporting pieces around Embiid, because I think all of us would say it wouldn't shock us if in the playoffs, no matter who that team is, maybe other than Brooklyn, it would shock you if there's too much, we're relying too much on Embiid, and who else is going to help him? Is Tobias going to step up? Is Ben Simmons going to shoot? Those kind of things. That's what we're trying to figure out and see what's going to happen. Yep. But let me hear what you guys have to say.
Well, all right. Well, then I'll come back to you, and you can give us your final thoughts after them.
Sure.
Demetrius?
So to the question, I think the question becomes, do you like Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, maybe Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, and White Dante more than Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Shake Milton, right? If that's your question, this becomes easy.
Question.
Right. I think it's easy. I think the combination of Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are going to win playoff games because Dexter drifted on me and then he came back home. And I'm very happy about it. Giannis's mid-range game cannot be stopped by anybody in the East. Now, if you force those other guys to beat you, that's what it is. When you're game planning against them, you want to make Giannis have a tough night. If you do that, Middleton can beat you. Drew Holiday can beat you. Together, they can beat you. God forbid White Dante gets hot. Then they can beat you with other players. I'm sorry. I love Tobias Harris, former Piston. Ben Simmons ain't going to beat you. I'm sorry. Ben Simmons not going to beat you. He's just not. Seth Curry's not going to beat you. So Philly will need Embiid to be the best version of Joel Embiid every single night in the playoffs, 4 times out of 7 games. Since we started talking NBA, Milwaukee's been my choice out of the East. I've been talking Milwaukee, Utah all along. I am an unabashed Giannis guy. I like Giannis more than Embiid because he can be very, very difficult to match up. Brooklyn has no answer for Giannis, period. Philly, Milwaukee's going to be a great series. I think that's your East Finals. To go back to your early question, Brooklyn's not going to be there. I think this is your East Final. I think it's going to be a really good final. If Embiid plays the best version of Embiid, it's going to be a very, very good Eastern Conference final. I think Milwaukee's got the better team. Take the 2 stars out, Milwaukee's team will beat Philly's team in a 7-game series. If there's no Giannis, no Embiid, I got Milwaukee in a 7-game series.
Don, who you got?
When Giannis has, guys like Middleton and Holiday, even going down the roster, I mean, I'm going to give an edge to the Bucks on this one. I think even like Lopez and Portis, I mean, they get things done. I think Milwaukee is on the verge of, challenging Philly for that spot. So I think it comes right down to it. I have to go with the Bucks.
Bill, you got the last word here.
Okay. Well, since Demetrius got to shout out a former Piston, I'm going to shout out a former Bull. Bobby Portis is one of those glue guys that plays hard, plays smart, is willing to take the toughest big in terms of a cover, to take some pressure off of Giannis. They have, as was mentioned by both Demetrius and Dexter, scoring support around Giannis, ball handling support around Giannis. And I don't think the solution is Giannis getting better at shooting threes. I think the solution is Giannis shooting fewer threes. Why should he shoot 7 or 8 threes? What's the point? Right. You've got guys who are good at that. I think if he ever drifts out of 3-point range, he should do it just to take someone off the dribble, which he's become, for a man his size, one of the better ball handling bigs ever. I mean, I'm thinking about guys his size who I've seen just handling the ball. I mean, there's not many guys his size who can really literally take dudes who are 4 or 5 inches shorter than them off the dribble. Not just guys their size, because we'd expect that. But I've seen him take guys 6'8" off the dribble, right? Off the bounce. So if he drifts outside, he shouldn't be jacking up threes. He should be trying to get back to the hoop. Is what I like, right? Drift outside, shake somebody, right? Get into the lane where nothing good happens for the other team once Giannis gets to the lane on the move. I mean, I don't think this is really a tough question. This is one of the easier questions I think we've been asked so far in this whole gauntlet you've asked us here, James. This is the one I feel the best about. I think it's clearly that Bucks roster. And, obviously he's got, I guess, just sort of for companionship, they added his brother or whatever. But between, Lopez, I think, obviously we're talking about Drew Holiday, Double D, Daredevil, White Dante, whatever it is you want to call him, has been playing really well. Jeff Teague deserves a little bit of love for the veteran presence and sort of calming stuff down. You get some defensive minutes and some fouls out of PJ Tucker when you need them. You need at least one guy who can go out there and, run into some people, That's still something you need sometimes. But when you look at, not only do they have these guys, but they have defined roles. Yeah. I don't think we talk enough about, it's not just that you have good players on your bench. Do they have defined roles? And do they know what that role is? In the case of Milwaukee, the answer is yes to both. They have good players on the bench who have defined roles, and they know what their role is. And sometimes you feel for that early in the season, but they've locked in now. I feel really good about them, and I'm with Demetrius. I have Milwaukee coming out of the East as well.
Well, Dexter, hey, man, it was good having you with us here. We're going to talk a little football now, and look forward to having you back on the show. Like I said, we'll make sure that we send you, our little weekly lineup here, and whenever you feel like joining in, come on back. You got an open invitation.
Yeah, man, I would love it. I just want to say I enjoyed my time with y'all. Really great sports conversation. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. We need to see more of this and, support each other. And that's good, man. So I just want to definitely thank you guys for having me on, and definitely come back and I'll talk some other sports. Next time I have to talk to you guys about how I'm a converted from the Jets to a Steelers fan now recently. Yeah.
Oh, you are home.
You saw the light.
I left the Jets. Yeah.
Yes,
so I had to bring it back to an organization in a city I used to live in they run things the right way. So I was done with the Jets. We can't do that anymore. Nice. It wasn't good for my health, guys. It wasn't good for my health.
Always look out for your health.
Yeah, Bill, Demetrius, James, Don, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.
Having you, man.
And yeah, I'll see y'all soon. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Don't forget to shout us out on your podcast, man.
I won't for sure. I won't forget. Thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
All right. Okay, Don, let's go to an area you're a little familiar with now. We're going to talk some football, man. How's it been?
It's going good. I will apologize for being late. We had our senior walk at school, and
Nice.
I got caught up with a parent, but hey, I made it.
Real life stuff is what you're talking about. You don't have to apologize for real life stuff.
I broke some driving laws and got pulled over.
You definitely don't confess to felonies on the sports trip. What do you do?
Well,
Not
Don,
after dark.
Don, I'm going to start with you right off the bat, and we're going to talk about your favorite quarterback, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. So, is Green Bay really about to reward Aaron Rodgers 1-4 in the playoffs? Are they really about to make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL? Your thoughts, Don?
Well, if I'm the GM at an ownership of the Green Bay Packers, I'm paying him because 1-4 in the playoffs, but without him, you're not in the playoffs. Green Bay wins 4 or 5 games every year because of Aaron Rodgers, and so I mean you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. You kind of in 2-3 years, we might have to pay him that because he'll be, he'll body is starting to deteriorate. But if you want to win, if you want to keep the stands full and have that success, you have to pay him. I don't think it's a good idea necessarily, but it's just one of those. Well, as they say, the inconvenient truth. I mean, you have to pay him.
Who do you have on your All-NBA?
What do you think, Demetrius? I mean, Don says, hey, he's only got a couple years as it is, but are you going to make him that? Are you going to reward losing? Hey, you might make the playoffs, but so what?
I think it's different. I am first of all, I am a Detroit Lions fan. So asking me to say anything positive about this man is just a hard ask. But I'm going to be just like objective.
It's like Don saying something negative about Kevin. Is that what you're saying?
It's like asking you to say something good about Cleveland, Ohio. How about that? That's what it's like. So yeah. There's my analogy. But,
see, you made it. I got sick already. There you go.
I didn't mean to do that. And from a strictly business standpoint, I'm going to be objective. No. He's like 38 years old. The move, as unpopular and as much as people are going to give them grief, the smart business move is trade him. Call Denver, say, give us Surtain, give us the rookie running back and 2 number ones, and you take them because that contract is going to decimate your ability to have any kind of flexibility on your roster. And the investment is 2 years. I know he was an MVP. We expect him to play well for how many more years? It's not popular, and fans might not like it. From a business standpoint, if Denver will truly give you 2 good players and 2 draft picks, I think there's dead money involved that's really what would make it tough. Next year, the dead money's a lot less. No, you don't make him the highest player. You challenge him to play under his current contract this year, and then next year you take the best offer. You hope he plays almost to the level we played last year, and you take the best offer, and you trade that 38-year-old quarterback. You get a haul for him because he's really good. Nowhere in there did I say he wasn't a good player. I simply said he's 38, and as a business, as an asset, and that's kind of cold, as an asset, his value is super high. You can get a ton for him, and you can reset your roster for the next decade, especially if you believe the quarterback you took in the first round just last year is everything you thought he was going to be. Then you're ready. Do you have a down year? Possibly 2, maybe. But then you're right back because you got 2 1s, 2 1s, 2s, whatever you get in the deal. You reload your roster. That's the business move. Nobody wants to say that because I guess that's not nice. But I'm a Lions fan, so I don't really care about Aaron Rodgers. I care about being nice to Aaron Rodgers. If I ran the Packers, my team just traded my favorite quarterback, and it was brilliant. And they got a haul, and they're going to get to rebuild the roster thanks to that trade. In 3 years, when I'm really talking crap about the Lions because we're winning football games, I will point back to the trade of my favorite quarterback that made it happen. So no, they shouldn't pay him. He's got a contract.
Yeah. We're going to talk about your favorite quarterback anyway. Yours too, Don. But in the meantime, Bill, what's up?
So everything Demetrius said is smart and analytical and makes perfect sense. Here's the one reason why football people often do not do the smart, reasonable thing. And it's purely imaginary, but the imaginary specter of him raising the Lombardi Trophy in another uniform will haunt Mark Murphy, Brian Gutekunst, and the owners of the Green Bay Packers, as they like to proclaim themselves on their little license plate holders, till their dying day, right? These are people that prayed somehow that Brett Favre would not win a Super Bowl with the Vikings, right? Because the only thing worse than him leaving is him going somewhere and having success, right? And they've been through this once. There was a slightly different situation with the last Hall of Fame quarterback they had. Something about that team at Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The last one they didn't have trouble with was Brian Bartlett Starr, and that was a minute ago. They should not, from a business standpoint, slap 2 more years of like a mini Kirk Cousins deal onto his current deal. But will they? Once again, I'm gonna say it's about 45%. I think they do. I think there's this is me just speaking out of whatever. I don't have any inside information. I think there's a fight going on within the organization about what to do about him.
Yep.
I think that there are people within the organization who are ready to do exactly what Demetrius said. Pull the Band-Aid off. Let's see what we have in this kid, Jordan Love. And there's people who've been in the organization longer who remember the trauma of what they went through the last time, right? So it's generational. I think some of the younger people in the organization are like, what's the big deal? We have a young quarterback that we love and right. Let's see what we got. But there's some people who are saying, when this story is written, will it be written that we had the quarterback that may have been the most talented or one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and we won 1 Super Bowl? Is that logical? No. Is that smart? No. But people worry about their legacies, sometimes maybe more than they should. And I truly believe we'll see who wins the fight. That's what we'll know. When we see what happens, we'll know if the young guard or the old guard won the fight over what to do about A.A. Ron.
Boy, you gave me a perfect segue in here, Bill. And I really wasn't going to start this question with you, but since you gave me such a really good, you just lobbed me a picture like it was the home run derby. Let's talk about Mr. Tebow and the dissension in that organization. Now there are a couple ways that you could go with this, because I was kind of incensed, and then but again, me being the old curmudgeon that I am, I automatically played the race card. But then they told me, well, okay, Tim Tebow only needs 4 more games before his pension doubles. Exactly. I mean, it doesn't go. In fact, it might even do more than that, because I think right now with the number of games he has, he gets 20,000, and if he pays 4 more games, he gets something like 60,000. So but then I look again, and I'm saying, well, okay, but there's a whole lot of guys that are sitting out there that only need 3 or 4 games in order to triple their pension. Yep. So, Bill, bring it. What's up with you?
So, I don't think I need to tell people how close Coach Meyer and Tim Tebow are. They are just they're almost family members at this point. They live within a few blocks of each other, I believe, in the same neighborhood. They see each other on a daily. We're already seeing each other on a daily basis, even before this. Now, I guess they'll go back to really seeing each other on a daily basis. My only issue is this gives once again, the great lie to the thought that the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy, right? You hear that sometimes. Oh, it's the ultimate meritocracy, blah, 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 blah. Well, this once again just punctures that balloon. This is very clearly not the ultimate meritocracy. When you can go to your neighbor and say, hey, neighbor, I'd like to be back in the NFL. Yes, I haven't played in almost 9 calendar years. Yes, it's a new position. Yes, I'm a little small for the position, even if I had played it before. And I'm not really in football shape. So
is that all?
Says, sure, come on over, right? That tells you everything you need to know about the ultimate meritocracy that is the NFL. So that's why people are upset, because we keep hearing about if you're good enough, you'll have an opportunity. But some player who is good enough, some tight end, some player, some H-back who is good enough is not getting his opportunity in that camp to show what he could do because of this. Now, it's entirely possible that I'm wrong and he ends up being incredible. But I think that, speaking percentage-wise, is a rather low percentage. He's going to have to learn how to block. He's going to have to learn how to run routes. He's going to have to get in a different kind of football shape than the football shape he was in before. I mean, he's in shape, don't get me wrong, but he's not. He was playing quarterback, and that was a long time ago. And the kind of quarterback he was, you had to be in a certain kind of shape, because he was a fairly physical quarterback when he played in college. He liked to run into people more than most quarterbacks do. But he wasn't blocking people. He wasn't playing on special teams, because if he's a reserve H-back, I can't imagine he wouldn't be on special teams, right? Because you can't carry but so many players. This isn't college. Roster spots are precious. Very, very precious. So they've added, I guess, the extra 2 this year, so you can kind of carry up to 55. But even then, injuries happen. And how long can you do this favor for your almost adopted son if you lose a couple of safeties? You need to bring another safety. And something's got to give at some point. So I understand why people are angry. I was a little bit, I don't know, not really angry, but I was definitely like, so we're doing this now. I mean, that's kind of how I felt. Like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing? We're doing this now? I mean, I bear him no ill will. He's probably a very nice young man for everything I've been given to understand, but I'm a nice young man. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of nice young men. I'd like to.
That was the best.
I'm just saying, if we're doing this, like, what do we? Sure, whatever.
That's great.
Don, what were your thoughts?
Well, let me preface this by saying I'm really not an Urban Meyer fan. I'm a Tebow fan. I like Tebow. I mean, he's but it is a head scratcher because, like Bill's pointing out, he's playing a position he's never played before. He had some minor success in minor league baseball. I think he hit a few home runs, and Tim Tebow is a better athlete than I'll ever be. But NFL it's a different animal. And I wonder if Urban Meyer, who hasn't coached in a while, I wonder if he's using Tebow as like a buffer between him and the locker room. Maybe, I don't know, but it really doesn't make sense to have if you want him if you want him on a team, make him an offensive analyst, give him a position on your staff. Tight end, no,
can't make his pension that way though, Don.
There it is.
He's got to be on the team. He's got to be a part of that roster to make that.
Tim Tebow will always have a source of income.
You're not passing the hat. You didn't start a GoFundMe for Tim Tebow, dog.
No, I'm just saying he's a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he could make all kinds of money doing the Heisman House commercial. He could endorse products. He could start his a ministry because he's a devout Christian. There's a lot of sources of income that is not related to NFL. He's a good-looking guy. I mean, he could. The world's his oyster. He does not need the NFL.
Bill's a good-looking young man.
Yeah. Demetrius, I mean, Don makes a good point. He probably makes that $60,000 for a speaking engagement, or a guest appearance.
Politics. Run for office.
Yeah. Don makes great points. All three of you guys have made great points. Yours about the pension is great. Bill's about the relationship between the two of them is fantastic, and every point Don made is great. There's not a lot left for me, so I'm gonna go off script. So I believe this is a little bit out there. Timothy Richard Tebow, that's for Bill, is beloved in North. It's right, Bill. That's right. I checked it. He is beloved in North Florida.
Oh, that's absolutely putting it too mildly.
I know. I am out here where I'm like publicity stunt, right? I mean, literally, can you sell tickets with this? Will this sell tickets? I don't know. I like all three of your points. Yeah, all three of your points are better than mine. Jersey sales, tickets. And I think for me, it turned out to be a simple math problem. And so Flint Northern Mathematics says 32 teams in the league, average 3 tight ends roster. Fair?
Yep.
You're trying to sell me that there isn't 96 dudes that can play tight end better than Timothy, 34-year-old, 9 years out of the league, former minor league baseball player. I'm sorry. Bill's a young man. I will put Bill in. I mean, all you got to do is just clip somebody, roll in front of a linebacker. Apparently, they've dumbed down the position. And just another reason to mention the Detroit Lion, Pro Bowl tight end TJ Hawkinson is insulted by this. I'm insulted for TJ Hawkinson about this. So I think all of Don's points are great. The pension is crappy, but probably accurate. And the relationship, it's kind of insulting. I'm kind of disappointed by it. And there's some dudes out there. Like we could probably, the four of us right now could probably rip off 96 names and say there's 96 better tight ends. Just like off the top of I know Bill could do 60 by himself. We would figure out the other 36 on our own that are better, right? Where is Antonio Gates? I'm sorry, you got a few more downs left in you. Come on, Tony Gonzalez. He looks like he's in good shape on Fox. Are you kidding me with this? I'm struggling with this, but you guys made all the really good points, so I had to go kind of outside the box. I think it might be a publicity stunt in North Florida to sell jerseys and tickets.
Well, guys, you guys know I always like to play little games here, so I made up another one for tonight, and it's called Way Too Early to Predict. Okay,
nice. I love it already.
Okay, Demetrius, Sam Darnold versus the Panthers. Revenge stays sweet. Yeah. Or it's a dish that's never going to be served.
No, this has the potential to be a revenge spectacular. So, just because the Jets aren't that good. I mean, I'm sorry, they're not that good. They're going to be playing a rookie. Carolina has good defense, and Matt Rule feels like that kind of dude. They might go do something like this and run up the score. So I think this one has revenge spectacular all over it. That one could be messy.
Don, what do you think?
I concur. It can get ugly real fast. I mean, but I think would Matt Rule just clean it up? I don't know. He might, but I think it's. Let's just say this: I'll be tuning in.
Yeah.
With intent.
What are your thoughts, Bill? Sam Darnold versus the Panthers.
Well,
revenge is sweet or not served at all?
Yeah, to quote a very, very, very old commercial. So once again, I'm skewing to the wrong demographic. That's the one piece of meatball. This could really be interesting because Sam Darnold is one of those players that, and of course, this is how the game has changed. Do people realize how old Sam Darnold is? And want to take a guess at how old Sam Darnold is?
21, 22.
He's a little older than that. He's legal to drink. He's been legal to drink for a while, but he is younger than I think most people realize. He will turn 24 this season. He's 23 right now. There are guys in this draft who just came out in this draft who are the same age as Sam Darnold. and a team gave up on him already. He's going to be so ready for that football game.
Exactly.
He's going to be so ready. And yes, he has the better team. It'll be a matchup of two up-and-coming young coaches also, right? Matt Rule and Robert Saleh. But Robert Saleh is going to need a couple of years to get his team together. This could be unpleasant. This could be an unpleasant learning experience for the very, very young Jets. I think Sam Darnold has definitely, whether he admits it or not, has that game circled. I think he's got a reminder in his phone. I think he's getting a tattoo of the date somewhere on his person. I think that, yes, he's going to for those who've read Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe, or maybe if you prefer Dumas' Count of Monte Cristo, there's something about twisted revenge tales, right? Yeah. Where you wait your moment, however long it takes to finally take your revenge. And no, you will not die of a cough. There will definitely be, he will play maybe the best game of his career to that point, I believe.
Yeah. Don, this one's for you. Dak and the new Cowboys defense, I think, Parsons is going to get his baptism under fire, and I don't know. What are you thinking here, Don? Dak and the new Cowboys, they open up against the Bucks and Tom Terrific.
Well, let me just say this. As I mentioned last week, I like the Cowboys draft this year. The defense, they did, like Jerry didn't screw it up totally. I mean, he got some defensive guys. So that's good. They're not going to be ready for the Tampa Bay, but they're not going to be totally prepared. I think the Cowboys will give them a good game. I really do. Historically speaking, Cowboys, they start off pretty strong usually in the season, but they're playing Brady, and those guys, they're new, they're inexperienced. It's going to take time for them to gel with the system, but they're not going to beat Tampa Bay. But I think it'll be a closer game than people expect. I think Cowboys will have not a great season, but I think they have a solid season.
Oh, we're going to come back on that one too. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill, what's your thoughts here? At one time we were talking about who Tampa Bay couldn't sign and who wasn't coming back, and damn, everybody came back. I think the ball boy came back. The girl that holds the clipboard. I mean, everybody came back. It was a family reunion.
It is a record, actually. In the salary cap era, no Super Bowl winner has ever brought back this number of snaps from the year before. This is a literal record. Nobody in the history of the salary, since the salary cap's been in place, has won the Super Bowl and brought back this many players who played this many snaps the year before. That being said, this is also an older team that's a little bit older than it was the year previously. Will that catch up with them? Maybe someday, but not this day. I do believe that simply by simplifying their defense, which is one of the things that's happened, Dallas, one, they had to. They got younger. And two, it was just a good idea to get simpler. They had too many guys doing too much thinking on defense, and it showed. And it showed in a way that was historically ugly last year. The worst defense in the history of the team, including their initial year as an expansion team. So that tells you something. When you have had the worst year on defense in the history of a franchise, counting your expansion year, that's not a good thing. So, as the old saying goes, has to be, only place to go is up. I believe they'll be somewhat better on defense, but not enough. Not enough. This will be the kind of game that lets you know, it's a measuring stick game. It lets you know what you still need to fix, right? How far you have to go to be a legitimate contender to win the Super Bowl. Right. But yeah, maybe they'll cover. I guess we'll see what the line is.
Demetrius, did they leave anything for you? Any bones for you to pick on?
You know how much I love to follow Bill. It's no. Honestly, though, all due respect to the right gentleman from Texas, yeah, this is gonna be ugly in my opinion. I think Bill just laid out a really bad defense against an offense that brought back literally everyone. They might get their rings that day. Everybody's health. Is that going to be 100%? Well, it doesn't matter. Tampa's going to be 100%. I don't. Maybe there's a degree of they're not focused because they get their rings at. But this is the first game of the season. This is national television. No other game. This is Thursday night, right? I think you're going to get a really good effort from Tampa, and just on the strength of talent, a really good effort from Tampa is only a close game if you get an exceptional effort from the Cowboys. And maybe you do. Tampa's going to win the game. Bill's point is good. What's the line? I don't see Dallas winning the game. And I think even the right gentleman from Texas said that. It would be nice for it to be competitive because we're all going to be aching for football, and that's going to be our first set of real snaps. So that'd be nice. I would not be shocked if it's over at halftime, though. And most of that for me is Dak going to be 100%? If Dak's 100%, Dallas is a different team on offense. But to Bill's point, you can only get better, but how much better?
Well, let's leave you off of my favorite city here, Dimitri. The Clowns offense and the Clowns defense, excuse me, which actually got a little better. And Baker's O versus Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, because we know they don't play no defense. But what's your thoughts?
I'm in the minority, I'm sure. And I think Don and Bill are both probably going to shout me down. I am seriously concerned about the KC offensive line. And I know that they literally brought a guy to retirement, if I'm not mistaken, signed somebody else really good. That was stark what Patrick Mahomes had to do in the Super Bowl. That's the blueprint that everybody shows. The Clowns, as you like to call them, I can't even call them that. Cleveland has done some really smart things from a personal standpoint over the last couple of years, and I believe they're going to be a really good football team. I got to be honest. I think it's going to be a good game.
It rhymes like the Bungles.
Right.
Bungles,
I got
Bengals,
you.
Yeah.
So I
nothing
don't
personal
know.
there. Nothing personal.
Oh, of course there's nothing. I can't tell there's anything personal. I don't see it. I have serious concerns about the Chiefs offensive line. I share your concerns about the Chiefs defensively. I don't know that this isn't a really good game, that Cleveland can't win this game, like outright win the game. Now, I might be, but I might be on the bandwagon a little early. I like everything they've done for the better part of 2 years. And I think it's all leading to something. And the KC offensive line scares me. I don't think they fixed the offensive line is what I'm trying to say in short order. And when you got Myles Garrett and you got Clowney, no pun intended. I mean, literally his name's they have players on the defensive side of football that can give Kansas City some trouble. So I am really looking forward to this game. This is a game I'll probably watch.
Yeah. Well, that's why I mentioned the D. Like I said, I might call them out of their name, but anyway, I've given them that name ever since, I moved from there. So they've always been the Clowns to me. But Bill, your thoughts?
This is going to be the test of what Demetrius Burgess calls the dat dude theory.
Yeah.
Because the better team, if you just go position by position all the way across the board, you have to give tight end to the Chiefs. You have to give probably receivers still to the Chiefs. Running backs clearly goes to Cleveland. They have obviously a former Chief, but who was a terrific running back, and then the guys that they've drafted at running back have all been really, really good. They had a guy who came off the bench one time, went over 100 yards. They have ludicrous depth at running back. They have the better offensive line, the better defensive line. Secondary, they got some things to work on in the Cleveland secondary, and they're linebackers. But I'm going to give linebackers to the Chiefs. Secondary, I'm going to call that I guess I'll give that to the Chiefs. And obviously Mahomes. But everything else, the Browns. Browns are better at, so many things. So both lines clearly go to the Browns. That's big. We always talk about the games being won and lost in the trenches.
Yeah.
So you're asking, one man and his targets, basically, in the passing game and the running game to a lesser extent. The Chiefs don't run the ball really as much as they should. I know I sound a million years old, skewing old again, but they really should run the ball more. Like, it blew my mind that they didn't just decide when they knew they'd lost their 2 starting tackles in the Super Bowl to just run the ball against a defensive look that was saying run the ball at us, right? The defense of the Buccaneers said, we dare you to run the football, and they didn't run it, but whatever. The Chiefs always have that chance to win because Patrick LeBron Mahomes. That's the reason they always have a chance to win any game, no matter who it is. But the better team is Cleveland. So if you believe in the dat dude theory, you're still going to lean Chiefs. To me, once again, I want to see the line before I put any money on it. If it's the Chiefs by any more than like a point, I'm probably going with Cleveland. It's a very close game to my mind. I don't think either team wins this game by more than 3 or 4 points. It should be a great game.
Don, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, I hate to tell you this, James, but I've been telling you for the last 2 or 3 years that the Browns were slowly but surely putting it together, and here it comes. Yep. Now, had they got to the point of the Chiefs? I think so. I can see Cleveland, running the ball control, keeping Mahomes off the field. That's how you beat Mahomes. Don't leave him on the field.
Yep.
Eat up the clock, run the ball, play action pass. And I think Baker Mayfield can do that. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards the Browns on this one, guys. I think Mahomes will have a great game. I also think Mahomes will be running for his life half the time, like it was in the Super Bowl. So I don't think the Cleveland defense isn't where Tampa Bay is, but I mean they're not. The gap isn't that great.
As long as you guys get your mind right by the time they play, by the time the Clowns and the Steelers play, right now you're safe. Season hasn't started yet, so I haven't started cutting yet. So Don, let's talk about your other guy, one of your favorite coaches here, Mr. Belichick. Is Belichick the wild card in the matchup against the Fins in Week 1?
New England, the time has passed. I mean, Belichick, he's a good coach, but he's going to be very average from here on out. So I don't expect him to. I don't think New England will smell the playoffs this year. So can't go with him.
Dimitri, does the student Flores show the old man? It's time for him to pass the torch, or what? Who you got?
So, in the spirit of podcast tradition, I hate the New England Patriots. But I think to your question, I think the wild card's Tua, right? If Tua has made that year 1 to year 2 growth that stars generally make, you see the game slows down, the playbook makes more sense. He's been a professional for a year. He knows how to pack his suitcase, all the stuff that goes with being a professional. Tua's the wild card. The answer, Belichick is not the wild card. It's Tua. I think Miami's a better team than New England. I think Miami's a team on the upswing. And I agree with Don that I think despite all the money they spent, I don't care about Mac Jones. I got to be honest. I think New England is at minimum stagnant, but in a division with Buffalo and I think Miami, New England doesn't scare me. Belichick can chop off all the answers and short stuff that William Stephen Belichick does. Got that both of them covered in the same answer, Bill. So he can do all. He doesn't scare me anymore because I think Miami's more talented. So I think who is your wild card? And I think Miami wins the game because I think they're a better team.
Okay, Bill. Is it Belichick? Is it Tua?
He's thinking about this. He is processing information.
Okay.
Look at this.
So I'm going to go similar to what was just said by my distinguished colleague. I'm going to go slightly different, though. I think the real wild card is Brian Flores, who is of all the fruit of the Belichick tree, the one who I think is sweetest to the taste. He seems to have managed to take all of the Belichick wisdom and ability to attack certain things and create problems without having to be such a killjoy, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Patricia is what you want to say.
Yes, right, exactly. Without having to be a Patricia, right? So guys don't dread going to work, right? But he puts a lot on them. They have a high accountability kind of culture, constant competition for positions at almost every position. Like a lot of the stuff that we think of as the Patriot way, but without the, oh God, gotta make the donuts, right? Without that part of it. So something about old commercials tonight. But the fact is that I could see the Dolphins. We've talked about the Bills, obviously. The Bills are probably the class right now, but I think the Dolphins are closing the gap. The Jets are a couple of years away, but I think they have the right people in place to put it together finally. And the Patriots, I mean, they're the wild card in the sense of, one, how long does Stephen Belichick even want to do this?
Right.
Maybe he wants to do it till someone fires him. I mean, some guys are they want to keep going till they can't. Can Cam Newton be helped?
Belichick coaches as long as Tom Brady plays.
That might be his goal. That might be exactly his goal. To make sure that there isn't that, sort of like when John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died within minutes of each other, right?
I'm not going till you go.
Yeah, this has been a weird show for all of us. But I can't get past this thought that Cam Newton was broken. Something on him was broken last year.
Yeah.
I keep thinking he won't be that bad this year. I think a combination of knowing the offense better, and I just think he'll be healthier. I can't prove it, but I'm convinced he got hurt at some point, slightly before the midpoint of the season, and played through injury without admitting it.
Yeah.
I once again, I have nothing to base this on other than just watching Cam. And
your eyes. That's all you're basing.
Right, yeah, right, exactly. And saying, this is not the same dude I saw the first 6 weeks of the season. I'm convinced he played hurt. If he can be healthy, this can be a team that has a shot at the wild card. But it's going to be tough because, man, the AFC East is not a joke nowadays. There's a lot going on.
Dimitri, I'm going to go out of, just because I'm talking about your Lions, I'm going to go a little out of turn here, and I'm going to bring you up because the next game we're talking about is Jimmy G and the 49ers versus the Lions and the new guy in town. What's up?
Yeah, I can keep this short. And so if the new guy we're talking about is Jared Goff. Well, first of all, the 49ers are going to win the game. They're a better football team. They just are. We had one of the worst defenses in the league, and it's going to take time. Like, we did a lot of great things on the defensive line. We need some organic growth from Jeff Okudah, our two young safeties. So we are just in the early stages of a rebuild. So the short answer to who's going to win the game is San Francisco. For the record, the new guy in town, I am pro Jared Goff. I think he's going to have a top 7 or 8 offensive line because they've done smart things on the offensive line for years between Ragnow, Decker, and now Penei Sewell. The Lions are going to they have one unit that's really good on that team, and it's the offensive line. They have Jamal Williams from Green Bay to join DeAndre Swift, and I think the running back room's fine. So he's going to have a solid running game and a good offensive line. Jared Goff's going to be fine. Jared Goff is not even a conversation piece. Our horrific defense is going to be the conversation piece. But to answer your question here, 49ers are going to win the game. We are still 2 years away for sure. We're going to be better, much better next year. 2 years, this podcast, I'm going to be a jerk because we're going to be really good. So I'm just warning you guys now, 2 years in advance.
Don, what's your thoughts? Jimmy G and the 49ers against Jared Goff and the Lions.
I gotta agree with Demetrius. 49ers, they kind of struggled at times last year, but they're still better than Detroit right now. I don't even know Jimmy G will be the guy, a few games in, but he'll be the guy that night, and he might look like Brady when he plays because Demetrius said defense isn't too good right now, but things will change. So I gotta go with the 49ers on this one. And by the way, Kyle Shanahan, another one of these.
Bill, what's your thoughts? Jimmy G and the boys against what is that color called again there?
Honolulu Blue.
Honolulu Blue. Yeah, there you go.
So this is what Demetrius complains of. Wow, a lot of great points have been made. Boy. Okay. So here's what I will say. I've been talking a lot about young GMs, and I'll just say it, young black GMs. Andrew Berry, Chris Greer, Brad Holmes. All three of those young black GMs are doing yeoman's work.
Exceptional. Yep.
I would like people to take a moment and recognize, put some respect on the names of those three young black GMs who are all doing it right. They're not going for flash. They're not trying to make a big splash. They're not trying to, trade for Brett Favre or whatever. Like they're not doing crazy stuff. They're saying, how do I build a team? Where are the opportunities to get better incrementally? And we're playing the long game.
Yep.
Right? They realize that. And every move they made has built towards something. I think, as was mentioned earlier, the Lions are going to be a team that is above 500 next year. And then, in 2000, as you said, when jerk time rolls around for Mr. Demetrius Burgess in the 2023 season, I could see them going potentially 12-5, 13-4, as weird as that sounds. But they could be in that. They could be in that discussion. By that time, Rodgers is either on another team or retired or both.
Yep.
The Vikings will finally have crawled out from under that enormous boulder they tied around their necks in the form of Kirk Cousins, and I don't know what they'll be doing at quarterback at that point. The Bears at least will have maybe righted the ship on offense, but by that point, their best players on defense will be gone.
Exactly.
Timing's everything.
Exactly.
They could literally be the class of the division by that point.
Yep.
Demetrius, just as a matter for the record, we will be officially retiring the show, the Sports Crib, February 4th, 2047. Okay. So you have plenty of time for your Lions to get better.
Plenty of
time. Bill, who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos on opening day?
Now, this is delightful. As has been said by other far wiser individuals, the future is a beautiful mystery. But what I will say, I still think it's Drew Lock for two reasons. One is it's going to be hard. People underestimate how hard it is to make these blockbuster deals. It's not your Madden on franchise mode, people. It is hard to make these deals. These deals are hard. That's why they don't happen all that often. Is it impossible? No, of course it's not impossible, but it's difficult. You're going to have to mortgage your future. So you have to say to yourself, with our diminished assets, can we win a Super Bowl with this quarterback if we give up good young pieces and a bunch of early draft picks? That's what you're asking yourself. You are literally rolling the dice with, well, your job, right? Amongst other things. Because if you're wrong, you're getting fired hard, right? You're getting fired with extreme prejudice.
You're not going to get fired. You're getting fired hard.
You're getting so fired. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is the kind of thing where like you have to beef up security around the perimeter if this doesn't work. I mean, people get upset when these kinds of things go south. So this one, if you do it, it better work. But it's so hard. The Packers don't want to make the deal, first of all. But let's be honest about that. They don't want, whether or not it's smart, as Demetrius pointed out, they don't want to do it. They've made it very clear. Now, you have to do that for two reasons. One is because I think they really don't want to do it. But also, it drives up trade value if you are very reluctant. People have to offer you more. So for two reasons, they've made it very clear they're not making this deal. I think it's Drew Lock also because, I mean, he's not quite as young as Sam Darnold, but I think he's like 24 and 5 months or something. Like, it's so different from when you and I started watching football days. You wouldn't start till you were 26 in the old days. You might get your first start at 25, maybe. I mean, guys are losing their first. Guys are on their second and third team by the time they would have gotten their first start in the 70s. It's wild out here in these quarterback and streets these days. But I don't think they're quite ready to give up on Drew Lock. I really believe they're not quite ready to give up on him. Now, if he goes off to a bad start, they might be encouraged to maybe pull the trigger on a deal they don't want to make. But I still think it's Drew Lock. I'm going with Drew Lock.
Well, if he starts out 0-3 and Aaron Rodgers starts out 3-0, then that deal's kind of done, isn't it? Demetrius, your thoughts? Who's the opening quarterback for the Broncos against the Giants?
Yeah, I have a couple of basic life mottos. One of them is don't disagree with Bill Carroll. I'm going to break that. Aaron Rodgers is going to light up the Giants, and I'm just going to give the rest of my time to Don.
Don, is Aaron Rodgers really going to be starting for the Broncos on opening day?
Hey, I'll have what you're having. Zero sugar. That's good.
Might want to take a little sugar.
Hey, Dr. Pepper Zero with cherry is pretty good.
That's it.
Is that the cherry?
That's it.
It's delicious. It's delicious.
An official sponsor of the sports.
Exactly. Nice plug. Right.
No, but my gut feeling is that, and I said it earlier, I think Green Bay will make a point to keep Aaron Rodgers there just for the optics of no other reason. I think probably Drew Lock will be the starter for the Broncos, but you never know. But as of right now, on the 13th of May, in our year of our Lord 2021, I'm going to say Drew Lock.
Okay, then let's keep it with you, Don. Trevor Lawrence. He's leading will he lead the Jaguars to their first win over the Texans?
If you're going to get your first NFL start, the Texans would be a good team to play because they got gutted. Their defense, I was really praising their defense last few years, it's no longer existent. So Trevor Lawrence will be the rookie quarterback that comes out with the win. I smell it.
Bill.
Yeah, I also smell what Don Hayes is cooking. I when I look at that team, I mean, once again, we talked about young general managers and still the young black general managers are just flat out killing it, and then you have the Texans, who are a study in like all the things to. They're a cautionary tale in essence. They are a cautionary tale. This is all the things that you don't want to do as a franchise. Like it's almost everything you can imagine. They've got them all aligned. Oh yeah, franchise quarterback embroiled in a scandal, overinvest in the wrong positions, let some of your best players walk without receiving any sort of compensation. Like, it's a long list of things that they have botched in essence. And where do you hang your hat? I mean, like, what's the thing you say, oh man, the Texans have really got this though, right? What's the this? What's the thing that you say, oh, but if it's not Deshaun Watson, what's the thing? What's the who? What? Right? What's the thing? Running game? Nope. Defense? Not anymore. Like, what's the thing? So the Texans could be a team that is essentially, I mean, you don't tank in the NFL, obviously, but you play with the future in mind.
This is going to look like a tank. They're bad enough that it's going to look like they're tanking. They won't be.
Well, go ahead. Demetrius.
Yeah, I think Don put it right. God reached down, touched Uncle Herb on the shoulder, and Trevor Lawrence is going to throw 3 touchdowns to future Hall of Fame tight end Timothy Rich. No, I'm right. I'm kidding. I think that the funny thing is, none of the 3 of us said the Jaguars are good and they're going to win the game because they're good. All 3 of us said the Texans are in shambles. They're going to win the game because the Texans are that bad. I think it's important to note that. I would bet on the Jaguars as well, but it is in large part due to everything Don said about the Texans.
Demetrius, I'm going to let you start this one since you live in Chicago. And we're talking about your former
my favorite quarterback still.
Okay, so does Justin Fields beat your favorite quarterback?
No, 0 chance. So 2 things. One, I am happy that Matthew Stafford will get to actually cement his legacy. There is no ill will. Most real Lions fans are not. Nobody's mad. This was a great thing for our team. It's great for Stafford. Literally everybody won. And I still think Jared Goff's going to be fine. Matthew Stafford is going to a system and a coach and a team that has a defense and weapons for him. He's going to play so well this year. And it might be slight hyperbole because I'm a massive Stafford guy. He's going to be in the MVP conversation at some point during this season. That's how good a fit he is in the Rams offense. That's how much talent they have in that team. He's going to look really, really good. And that starts week 1. If Fields is on the field, because there's still the red rifle thing that their QB1 is they're calling him. There's still the whole Andy Dalton thing. And I just don't know that you can be ready to play in the NFL, especially if we don't have a normal offseason and they don't get OTAs and camp is weird because of COVID. I think Andy Dalton will be the quarterback for this game. So I think it'll be Stafford rolling up points on the Bears defense and Andy Dalton trying to play catch up. But I think this question for me is just about number 9. I think the Bears will eventually be good and Justin Fields will eventually be good. Not week 1. Week 1, they're about to get a big slice of number 9 cornbread.
Don, I'm not one of those guys that's exactly on the Rams bandwagon. So what I'm going to say is just maybe it might not be number 9, but the Bears are still playing the Rams, who have mysteriously found ways to lose games. That, and especially when you have probably the best defensive player on the planet.
Yep.
But Don, I mean, what do you think here? Does Justin Fields start, or does it make any difference because Stafford is just going to light up the stadium? And the Rams are at home. They're playing the Rams at home. I must put that up.
Yes. Justin Fields, I think, has a bright future, but it won't be that night. I think the Rams, talking about games being over by halftime, that will probably be one of those games.
Agree. Yeah, I love it. Don just kept it simple. Simple.
Yeah. Bill? Yeah. Come on, Bill. I know you got
Did we get Bill back? Did we get Bill back? I think we lost Bill.
Did we get Bill back? I mean, it's
no.
Kinda,
I don't have him back.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. No, we don't. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Okay, guys. Well, hey, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe Bill got a little. Was it the FCC, Facebook? Well, anyway, we'll find it. Okay, guys. This is my favorite question of the night. There he is. I knew he was coming back. If I just stalled around long enough, I figured he'd be back. Okay, Bill. We keep losing you, but you keep coming back here. That's the good thing about StreamYard. You don't get thrown off. But what's your thoughts? Does Justin Fields start? Does Andy Dalton start? And does it make any difference?
Well, I mean, it certainly makes a difference, particularly to the people who are trying not to get fired in Chicago. So I believe that the reason, and I think I might have mentioned this before, that Andy Dalton is even in the discussion is that Bill Lazor, who's the quarterback's coach for the Chicago Bears, is formerly the offensive coordinator with the Cincinnati Bengals when Andy Dalton had his best and most productive years in Cincinnati. I believe he will start unless he's terrible. Anything short of him being really, really bad, he starts. But he is on well, you can see my fingers. I think the leash is about that long, right? He's on an incredibly short leash. He cannot afford to have a bad quarter, let alone a bad game. So I think now, ironically, I think he will play very well, especially early on in the season. But at some point, something will happen. There'll be a stumble, or he'll get hurt, or something will happen, and then we'll see Justin Fields. But I believe it's Dalton to start.
Okay. Let's see, Don. I'm going to kind of bring things to a close here, and I don't want to start with Bill because I know Bill will spoil it. I don't want to start with Demetrius because Demetrius' team doesn't play in either one of the divisions that I'm talking about. So this question really has a lot to do with you and I.
Yeah.
Of course, Bill is also a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
That's fair.
But Don, I'm looking at that first day, and I'm looking at the schedule of the AFC North, and I'm looking at the schedule of the NFC East. Don, do both our conferences go 0-4 opening day?
Huh.
The NFC East will go 0-4 before your conference. That's just my gut. I think the AFC will eke out a win somehow, somewhere, somehow. But unless things have really improved, I would probably think our bet, because we're playing Tampa Bay in Dallas, so best shot would probably be the Redskins, and I don't know if they're there yet. Not the Redskins. I'm sorry, the Washington football team.
The football team is what we call them now.
Old habits, guys. Old habits.
This is a podcast full of old men. We ain't mad.
But wait a minute now. I mean, how come we got to call them the Washington football team, but we still got the Kansas City Chiefs?
Preaching to the choir.
You got the Atlanta Braves.
Preaching to the choir. We all agree with you.
Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians.
Yeah. I mean, but
Florida State Seminoles.
Let's see. Don, you want to stick around, or you want to give us your final thoughts? I know it's a little late down there in Texas, and you got to get.
I need to give my final thoughts. So, sorry again. I apologize for being here later than I expected, but we had a little senior walk at school, and I was asked to say some words, so I did. But got here just in time to talk to y'all. Always a pleasure, and we'll be back next week.
Well,
all right, my man. You have a great night, Don.
Take care.
Okay, Demetrius.
Final thoughts?
No.
We're talking about the AFC North and NFC East?
Yes.
I do not think either division is going 0-4. I think Baltimore has a good chance of winning in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And I agree with Don that the football team might have a chance because they're at home, although I like the Chargers. I think both of those games have a possibility of getting wins. I think the no chance games are, sorry, Don, Dallas and Tampa. Sorry, guys. Steelers at Buffalo. I I don't know about Cleveland, Kansas City. That's sort of up in the air, and I don't think the Bungles are as good as the Vikings, because the Vikings, at nothing else, they can still run the football and they still play pretty decent defense. I don't know who the Eagles are, and that game's in Atlanta, so I'm going to take Atlanta. And I think Aaron Rodgers and the Broncos are going to beat. No, I think that's a crapshoot game too. I think there's legitimately 4 crapshoot games: Baltimore and Vegas, Cleveland, Kansas City, football team Chargers, and Giants Broncos. So I don't know that it's a lock that either division goes 1-4. Somebody's stealing game. This is the NFL. This is the NFL. Everybody in that league is really good at playing football. And on a given Sunday, that's not going to be an 0-8 slate. Somebody's going to do something.
Bill, what do you say, man?
Yeah. I could see, once again, my distinguished colleague from, I guess, just north of the city being correct about both things. I definitely think that on the AFC side, there's a win, maybe a win or two that end up being eked out early in the season, particularly. Games turn out differently than you would guess because, as has been pointed out, we can't assume continuity. Even with a team like Tampa Bay, we shouldn't assume continuity, even though they brought back essentially everybody who played significant snaps from last year, which is unheard of for Super Bowl winners. But even with that, as the old proverb says, you can't step into the same river twice. The fact is that those players are not, even though they're the same guys, same name, same whatever, not the same players. Some have gotten better, some have gotten worse. But I definitely think that we get a win on, at least one win on the AFC side, and I could see a win on the NFC side. In terms of final thoughts, I'm going to turn to whatever is happening. We mentioned sort of the shambles that the Houston Texans are in. And there's been a lot of people rushing to judgment on both sides regarding what's going on with young Mr. Watson and the women who have stepped forward to talk about what they believe took place. And this is uncomfortable for me. It's uncomfortable probably for many of us. I am a strong advocate for women, particularly women who work in fields where they have to. Women are almost always independent contractors who work in the field of therapeutic massage. Many of these women were licensed professionals who worked for years in their industry. Some of them were unlicensed and newer in their industry, but were students working towards getting licensed or whatever. And I do not know what happened and what did not happen. But I refuse to be sucked into making a strong claim about things about which I am completely ignorant. I am okay with saying, I don't know what happened. I am okay with saying, we'll find out. I'm okay with saying, I can wait until there's something definitive before I make some proclamation about so-and-so is lying. No, so-and-so is lying. I don't know. But no matter what happens, I hope that we will be respectful of all parties involved. And I hope that Deshaun Watson, whatever it ends up being, seeks counsel and assistance and possibly even counseling. Because even if he did not commit any sort of offense or crime or anything like that, it's clear that there's something that he's been looking for. Generally, when I've talked to people who are high-level athletes, Olympic level or professional athletes, when they have someone who's working with them or working on them, they have a main person. Usually it's one main person, whether it be chiropractic, therapeutic massage, Reiki, whatever it is. And then if that person is available, they have maybe one or two backups. The sheer number of people that he had contact with and involvement with indicates that something's going on. Even if he didn't do anything wrong, something's happening there. And so in a as non-judgmental way as I can say this, I hope he listens to smart people. I hope he gets good advice. And I hope that this is resolved in such a way that whoever and whatever is involved, that everyone gets treated as fairly as they can be in this incredibly difficult and, like I said, uncomfortable situation. And that's my final thought.
Demetrius, as always, man, glad to have you here. Always some very good thoughts. I try to keep you from being behind Bill as much as possible, but your final thoughts, man. That's
yeah. Ironically, at this moment, it's a pleasure because from Bill just spoke from a place of compassion and logic and reasoning and with other people in mind. So first thing I got to say is kudos. That was exceptionally well done. And it's not even hard to follow. It's an honor to follow that. I, as always, like to use my final thoughts to recognizing contribution of people that look like us. That's my thing. That's my new thing. And today is the birthday of everybody knows the guy over my shoulder who you can't see now is, to me, the undisputed GOAT. But if there was a second place right behind him, the guy's name might be Joe Louis Barrow. I think he was born in Alabama, but moved to Detroit, Michigan around 13 or 14, and we have claimed him. We named an arena after him. We have a giant fist in our city, and it represents him. He was the world champ when being the world champ was a big deal. Right? In the world, not just in this country. The MMA and all that stuff is around now. Being the world champ was literally the world champ. His fights with, whether it was Billy Conn, which was a great fight, and he was dehydrated and losing on all scorecards and knocked Billy Conn out in the 13th round, or the two Max Schmeling fights were literally world changing. I mean, impacted the world. There's so much about Joe. He held the title for 12 years, 25 straight title defenses, still a record regardless of weight class to this day. Joe Louis had a group, they called them Bums of the Month because for 2.5 years, he defended the title every month. He fought every month for 2.5 years and just kept knocking out bums, knocking out all bums. And Joe Louis, actually, quietly, people don't know, is a large part in breaking the color barrier in golf, of all things. He used to play in PGA tournaments with a sponsor's exemption when black people couldn't play. Joe Louis is a big deal in Detroit. He should be a big deal everywhere in the world. I recognize today as his birthday, but just as his contributions in general. Every week when I'm on here, I've got my personal GOAT over my shoulder, and I've got my son to my side, and I've got my football team over the other shoulder. But sometimes it's important, like I said, whether I was recognizing Cheryl Swoops or Lou Whitaker or Willie Mays last week, I like to recognize the contributions of people that look like us. And Joe Louis changed our world. Joe Louis changed our world. His Schmeling fights impacted the world. So today on his birthday, recognizing Joe Louis.
Hey, well spoken. Whenever you talk about boxers out of Detroit, of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is my mentor, Emmanuel Stewart. He's the one that really took me under his wing when I moved out here to California. Mm-hmm. So Emmanuel Stewart. You also have an Emmanuel Stewart street named after him. I think it was 2 years ago. Yep. That you just made a Stewart.
Well deserved.
But the thing that still kind of gets me. I mean, maybe Joe Louis Boulevard is a little bit different. I don't know because I'm not from Detroit. But usually when you put black names on streets, that means they're in black neighborhoods.
It's in the hood, right. Right. And the logic behind that is that there's a greater appreciation. So from a logic standpoint, I get why they do it. But yeah, that's pretty consistent. Every Dr. King Boulevard in every city across our country is in the same area of town. I am of the opinion that that's okay. That's okay. Because I like that. I lived on a block that was next to Martin Luther King Boulevard in Flint, Michigan, and I got to drive on it virtually every day. I saw that as a prideful thing, so that's fine.
I do have to ask you guys one thing, because not only am I trying to raise water for Atlanta, but I'm also doing it for some of the boxing gyms in Flint. The water.
Yeah.
The last I heard, still comes out brown.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes. It's years. The short version goes, once you pollute those pipes with lead, they are essentially done. right?
Yep.
And this is
I mean,
it takes years. And
well,
so
they've been there for centuries. Some of them,
Right,
I mean,
right.
years.
Exactly. So it is a process that will, I would conservatively say it's another decade. That is not an easy thing to fix. That's why it was so significant, because it was such a simple thing that should have never happened. Quite frankly, a few smart people could have gotten in a room in 30 minutes, and this never happens. But that's a whole other podcast. We're already 2.5 hours. So as badly as I want to do it, I'm going to respect you guys' time.
Continue.
Right. Because that's after dark right there. Yeah, we do that after dark.
But like I said, hey, we're gonna have to move the sports crib over to the political consciousness.
Do you have a show called the City Planning Crib, James?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, if you put lead pipes over here, then we can put these good pipes over in this neighborhood.
Exactly.
But anyway, we'll talk about that. Anyway, hey guys, great talking sports with everybody. And I'll see you all next week.
Pleasure as
Hope
always.
everybody enjoyed the program.
Yes, sir.